travelling. From a time traveller who passes a lie detector test to a man from the future who earned a fortune on the stock market. Join us as we take a look at 10 real cases of time travel that can't be explained.
In February 2018, a man who claimed to be a time traveller underwent a lie detector test on camera. The man, only known as Noah, said he was from the year 2030 and made several predictions for the near future. Among them, he said that Donald Trump would be re-elected for a second term of presidency. In 2028, time travel will be invented and the first humans will visit Mars. He also claimed that Bitcoin will be used as a currency, but that cash money also still exists. Noah also claims to have some sort of futuristic technology implanted in his wrist that is somehow involved in the time travel process. An X-ray confirms that there is in fact some sort of device embedded under the skin, but he refuses to have it surgically removed. Several days after the lie detector test, Noah was reported to mysteriously vanish during a live stream. It was then revealed that he contacted the channel via email, stating that he was briefly taken back to the year 2030 for interrogation, but is now back in our time. In 1932, journalist J. Bernard Hutton, along with photographer Joachim Brandt, was sent to do a story on the Hamburg shipyard for a German newspaper. The pair claimed that shortly after they arrived at the shipyard, bombs started raining down from the sky and they had to scramble to safety. When they emerged, they took several photographs of the devastation before returning to Hamburg. When the pair told their story, no one believed them, as there had not been a bombing of any sort. Determined to prove that they were not crazy, they developed the photographs they had taken. To their shock, the photographs showed no signs of an air raid whatsoever. 11 years later, Hutton was living in London when he opened a newspaper and read that an air raid had taken place on the Hamburg shipping yard. The bombing was part of the Allied attack codenamed Operation Gomorrah. To his amazement, the photographs in the newspaper looked just like the ones he thought he and Brandt had taken years earlier. Did the pair slip through some sort of time rip? Had they actually witnessed an event that was yet to occur? In 2016, a mysterious photograph surfaced on Icelandic social media. It showed downtown Reykjavik in 1943 at the height of World War II. In the foreground, a group of American GIs can be seen standing outside a taxi station, as well as a man leaning against a window who appears to be talking on a mobile phone long before they even existed. Originally posted to a Facebook group by Christian Hoffman, it quickly began to attract attention across the internet. The photo was so convincing that many people said it was irrefutable proof that time travel must exist, while others thought that it showed that the mobile phone must have already been invented and in use in Iceland by the 1940s. What do you think? Is this man from the 1940s really using a cell phone? There's been several recorded instances of people seemingly using technology that shouldn't exist at the time. Many believe it to be evidence of time travel. This footage of a woman exiting a DuPont factory was taken in 1928. If you look closely, it appears that she's talking on a mobile phone. This footage was taken from the opening of a Charlie Chaplin film in 1928. As the camera pans in, a lady can be seen walking past chatting on another mobile phone. What do you think? Does this footage really prove that time travel exists? This now famous black and white photo was taken on the day South Fork Bridge reopened in Canada in the early 1940s. Take a look at the man in the middle right of this image. He's wearing a pair of modern sunglasses, a hooded jumper and a logo printed t-shirt. If this is a real time traveller, why has he travelled to the 1940s to witness a bridge reopening in Canada? Now I know some of you are thinking that you've seen this photo a million times before, but wait till the number one spot where we'll reveal an extra piece of shocking information. This photo was taken after Brazil's triumph over Czechoslovakia in the final of the 1962 FIFA World Cup. The man holding the trophy is Brazilian player Garrincha, who was voted player of the tournament. If you look directly below him, there's a man who appears to be taking a photo of Garrincha using a mobile phone. Could this be evidence of a time traveller who's travelled back in time to witness this historical sporting occasion? In 1901, Anne Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain, two professors from St Hugh's College in Oxford, England, travelled to France to visit the Palace of Versailles. As they were walking around a small chateau within the grounds known as Petit Trianon, the pair claimed that something very strange happened. They said they were suddenly surrounded by people dressed in 1780s period attire, and that Marie Antoinette herself was sitting on a stool in the gardens. Seemingly impossible, as Antoinette, the last Queen of France, was found guilty of high treason and beheaded by guillotine in 1793. The pair then claimed that everyone mysteriously disappeared just as a tour guide approached them. In 1911, the two professors wrote a book titled An Adventure, under the aliases of Elizabeth Morrison and Francis Lamont, that described in detail their bizarre experience. Because of the credibility of the authors and the grounded accounts of which they told their story, it is widely regarded as one of the best pieces of evidence that time slips may actually exist. Did Moberly and Jourdain experience a time slip, or was it some sort of strange hallucination? Let us know what you think could have happened in the comments section below. In 2008, archaeologists opened a sealed tomb in Guangxi, China that supposedly hadn't been disturbed for more than 400 years. Inside the coffin, they discovered a small wristwatch with the time frozen at 10:06. On the back, the word Swiss was engraved. The first wristwatch, however, was not made until the 1800s, which makes the discovery in Guangxi so baffling. Was the watch left behind by a clumsy time traveller, or could it just be an elaborate hoax? In a video published in February 2018, a man by the name of Alexander Smith claims to be a time traveller that's visited the year 2118. In the video, he says that he's actually one of the first people to ever use time travel technology as part of a top-secret CIA mission in 1981. He goes on to say that a group of unnamed people were looking for him and that he was living in hiding. Among other things, Smith claims that by the mid-21st century it's become widely known to the public that intelligent alien life exists. He goes on to say that they've been visiting Earth for a long time and that the government has been keeping it a secret. He also says that while walking around in the year 2118, he came across a statue of a man named Janu Oliver Beck, who he later found out would become President of the United States and is somehow assassinated. At the end of the interview, Smith reaches into his jacket and produces a photo of a city he claims he took while visiting the year 2118. He then mentions that the reason the image is slightly distorted is due to the time travel process. In 2003, a newspaper reported that a man by the name of Andrew Carlson had been arrested on insider trading charges. According to a report by the Security and Exchange Commission, Carlson had turned an initial investment of just $800 into a portfolio worth around $350 million while trading the stock market. All the trades he made were high risk and based on information that he couldn't have known unless he had inside information or was from the future. Carlson was interrogated by the FBI and confessed that he was actually a time traveller from the year 2256. He claimed that his plan was to make several small trades here and there that would go unnoticed, but that he got caught up in the excitement of the situation and ended up making a fortune. The more the FBI pressed him, the more Carlson insisted that he was actually from the future. In an effort to prove his story, Carlson is said to have even told the FBI where Osama bin Laden was hiding, as well as giving them the cure for AIDS.
Pew 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 pew.
However, the story gets even stranger. In an effort to further prove himself, Carlson offered this photo as proof that he was actually a time traveller. He claimed that he was also witness to the reopening of the South Fork Bridge in Canada in the early 1940s, alongside the mysterious man dressed in modern-day clothes. Carlson pleaded with the authorities to release him so he could return to the year 2256. However, he refused to give up the location of his timecraft for fear of the technology falling into the wrong hands. Shortly after his arrest, a mysterious man posted his bail of $1 million. He was due to appear in court in April of 2003 but disappeared on the way to the hearing. There was no record of an Andrew Carlson existing prior to December 2002, and he was never seen or heard from ever again.
Well, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching and travelling into the future with us. If you're enjoying our content, hit that upward facing thumb, subscribe if you're new, or leave us a comment down below. We love reading them all. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! From a cottage that smells like burning flesh to 15 people all saying they saw a ghost at once. Join us as we take a terrified look at Australia's most haunted places.
The building that houses the National Film and Sound Archive in Canberra was once the Australian Institute of Anatomy, where human body parts were preserved for research. It's this direct link to death that gives this property the title of one of the most haunted places in Australia. It is believed that the hundreds of body parts that were once housed here have imparted their spirit and still haunt the place today. People say that ghosts still wander the hallways, and reports of strange sounds and whispers are not uncommon. The downstairs corridor that once housed human skulls is said to be the hub of some major paranormal activity. A contractor claims he was pinned against a wall by some invisible force while doing some routine work at the property. Boggo Road Jail was once home to some of the country's toughest inmates and criminals. Until 1913, it included an execution chamber. It also housed Ellen Thompson, the only woman ever to be hanged in Queensland. Now running as a historic site, tourgoers often report hearing strange screams and noises, and seeing people standing in abandoned hallways. Given its long and dark history, Boggo sure does have some creepy ghost tales surrounding it. One ghost tour guide, who's responsible for taking hundreds of tourists through the facility each year, recalls the night up to 15 people saw a strange shadowy figure standing by a gate. At first, one man spotted the entity and notified the guide. Seconds later, the majority of the group agreed that there was indeed something standing just meters from them. No one else was in the locked facility apart from the tour group. A young boy became so distressed by what he saw that he began to vomit uncontrollably. The Princess Theatre in Melbourne is said to be haunted by a former performer who died during a performance. In March 1888, baritone Frederick Frederici was performing a rendition of Faust in which he played Mephistopheles. In the final act, Mephistopheles and Faust are lowered into the gates of hell through a trapdoor in the stage. However, as soon as Federici was lowered, he suffered a heart attack and died on the spot. What's surprising and creepy at the same time is that even though Federici died before the play ended, he was allegedly seen thanking the audience at the end of the play with the remaining cast. Notable actors such as Bert Newton, Marina Pryor and Lisa McCune all claim they've had a run-in with Federici. To this day, the theatre reserves a front row seat for him for all opening night performances. The entire town of Picton in New South Wales is reportedly one of Australia's most haunted places. Famous ghost tours used to run through the town during the late 90s to around 2011, when council restriction forced them to close down. The abandoned Redbank Range train tunnel is a hive of reported paranormal activity. The mountain underpass is 180 metres of pitch black nothing. The high number of suicides and murders that have taken place near the tunnel forced its closure in 1919. People often report light and shadows around the tunnel's entrance, strange cold winds and screams. Emily Bollard, a young teen who committed suicide here, is often seen wandering around late at night before disappearing into the nearby forest. The Devil's Pool in Babinda, far north Queensland may seem like a stunning natural swimming pool, but it's actually extremely dangerous and has claimed at least 17 lives. Ancient Aboriginal stories tell of a woman who committed suicide here after she was separated from the love of her life. It's said that her ghost still haunts the area and has been known to attract men towards the deadly pool of water. Since 1959, this place has claimed 17 lives, all but one have been male. While reckless behaviour and dangerous undercurrents are a contributing factor to the deaths, it's eerie that so many have been men. With all the tourists, businessmen and hikers falling afoul here, it's easy to wonder about the siren's call luring so many men to their death. The Seppertsfield Winery in the Barossa Valley has become known as one of the most haunted places in South Australia. A former owner of the winery reportedly went insane after spending long periods of time in his private retreat, hidden behind a trophy cellar. Guests often report sensations of someone watching them. Others have said they've heard mysterious gunshots and screams from the vineyards. An old distillery tower has been heard in full production despite no connected electricity. There have been moans and whispers and even reports of blood seeping from the family mausoleum on the anniversary of family deaths. This small parish just west of Sydney is said to be haunted by the spirits of twin boys. After a prank with fire went horribly wrong, the two boys were burnt alive. It's said that their spirits become enraged whenever a fire is lit near the church. Many visitors have said that their car headlights will inexplicably turn off when approaching the old church. Some say their cars have stalled altogether, leaving them in pitch black near the haunted parish. The Fremantle Arts Centre in Western Australia is said to be one of the most actively haunted places in the Southern Hemisphere. Originally built as an insane asylum in 1861, this foreboding Gothic landmark has a rather sordid history. The building was built entirely by convicts. In its heyday, the institution housed thousands of inmates, including an unusually high amount of women. After numerous questionable deaths, the local government recommended it be shut down. During World War II, it was converted into a base for US forces. In the late 1960s, the site was commissioned to become a museum for the local area. Since then, numerous ghost hunters have investigated the site. They claim that there may be up to 10 spirits that haunt the halls of this former asylum. Reports of whispers, objects moving, cold spots and spectres are not uncommon for the Fremantle Arts Centre. Anthony Grzelka, also known as Australia's Ghost Whisperer, claims he saw a full-figure apparition while staying the night in one of the cells. It was a sinister force that seemed to him to be a former warden. He said the air grew cold and he felt very uneasy. It was later revealed that several security guards refused to enter that part of the centre after a couple said they were pushed down the stairs by an unseen force. Another tale tells of a young girl who was accidentally locked in one of the cells. She pleaded to be let out and screamed for help, and as she did so, witnesses claimed that every window in the area started vibrating violently as doors opened and closed over and over. Blundell's Cottage in Canberra is so old that the city it's located in didn't even exist when it was first built in 1858. In 1892, former owner Flora Blundell was wearing a white crinoline dress that caught fire from a hot iron. She tragically burnt to death. It is said that she's often seen in a nearby garden standing in the same white dress looking at the house. Frequent tour groups have reported that the house sometimes smells like burnt flesh. Built in 1885, the Monte Cristo homestead is considered one of the most haunted places in Australia. Located in Junee, New South Wales, about 3 hours west of Canberra, this old homestead has some chilling stories attached to it. The current owner, Olive Ryan, who moved in 50 years ago, said she knew there was something strange about the place very early on. When Miss Ryan and her late husband first drove to the property, the house was completely lit up despite no electricity connected to the home. Miss Ryan has often felt disembodied hands, heard footsteps in an empty house, and felt the presence of former owners. Many mysterious deaths have occurred on this property. Guests have reported strange lights late at night in the barn. It is said that a boy was burned alive in the horse stables, his screams still heard today. Another incident took place in the 60s when a gardener was shot dead by a young boy who was obsessed with the film Psycho. Another tale tells of a housemaid who dropped a baby down a staircase. She claims it was pushed out of her arms by an unseen force. Another housemaid committed suicide while pregnant, jumping off the second floor balcony. Visitors often feel like they're being watched or have seen shadow figures out the corner of their eye. There's even tales of a former housekeeper that kept his mentally unstable son in the outhouse for over 30 years. Tragedy lingers in the air at Monte Cristo Homestead, murder and sadness imprinted on the property, perhaps forcing the souls of the dead to drift eternally through the halls of this old mansion.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you can't get enough of the chilling content, then take your pick out of these two videos. Remember to follow us on all our socials at SlappedHam, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! From a gold-covered hamburger to a $1 million parking space. Join us as we take a look at the 10 most expensive things in the world.
The South of Houston restaurant in The Hague, Netherlands is home to the world's most expensive burger. Created by chef Diego Buick, this budget-breaking burger starts with a black Angus and dry-aged Wagyu beef patty. Then comes the oyster-shelled lobster infused with Hermit Dutch coastal gin. The chef then adds Remaca cheese, foie gras, white truffles, caviar, Iberian ham, French lettuce and Japanese fruit tomatoes. The burger is finished off with a delectably over-the-top sauce made from more lobster, Madagascan vanilla, saffron, soy, and Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee. Finally, it's topped with a gold leaf-covered saffron brioche bun. The cost to satisfy your expensive appetite? A whopping $2,313 US. Produced from 1962 to 1964, there was only ever 39 Ferrari 250 GTOs ever made. In October 2013, American collector Paul Pappalardo sold one to an unnamed buyer for a record-breaking $52 million US. The rarity of the Ferrari 250 GTO, coupled with its timeless looks and drivability, makes this car a hot ticket item for any serious car collector. Maker of luxury gadgets and appliances, Stuart Hughes offers some truly high-end televisions. The Supreme Rose Edition is crafted using 28 kilograms, which is around 61 pounds of 18-karat rose gold. The inlay is made from hand-stitched alligator skin and the frame is studded with 72 round-cut 1-carat diamonds. The remaining space filled with amethyst and sunstone. What's the cost to watch SpongeBob on a dazzling diamond TV? $2.25 million US. In 2010, a single feather from the extinct huia bird fetched a staggering $10,000 US when sold at auction. The feather, which was traditionally used to adorn the headpieces of Maori chiefs, was sold to an unnamed family from Wellington who have a large collection of Maori artifacts. Designer to the ultra-rich, Stuart Hughes makes another appearance on our list, this time with the world's most expensive bed, the Baldacchino Supreme. This luxurious bed features a hand-carved chestnut wood structure with an ashwood canopy, decorated with 107 kilograms, which is around 235 pounds of 24-karat gold. All fabric is Italian silk and cotton, and the headboard is fully customized to fit precious stones of the buyer's choice. The cost to sleep soundly in this sort of ultra-luxury? $6.3 million US. The Baldacchino Supreme recently took the #1 place for the world's most expensive bed from the Magnetic Floating Bed. Priced at a meager $1.6 million, this amazing bed uses industrial strength magnets to allow it to permanently float around 40 centimeters, which is around 1.3 feet off the ground. If I had the dough, this is the one I'd be getting. How about you? Ultra luxurious Italian Baldacchino Supreme or magnetic floating bed? Let us know in the comments section below. Produced by extravagant gadget maker Stuart Hughes, the now out-of-date iPhone 4S Elite Gold is the world's most expensive phone. It boasts 500 flawless diamonds embedded in the rose gold bezel. Both the phone's casing and the Apple logo are made of 24-karat gold, with the logo containing another 53 diamonds. The navigation button is also gold with a single-cut 8.6-karat diamond inlay. The phone comes in a chest made of solid platinum, decorated with a polished Tyrannosaurus Rex bone, sunstone, opal, and rutile quartz. Only 2 4S Elite Gold mobile phones were ever made, making the total cost to own one a mind-blowing $8 million US. Not sure about you, but if I was paying that much for a mobile phone, I'd want the latest model. When Californian-based marketing company Quinn Street purchased Insurance.com for $35.6 million US back in 2010, they became the owners of the world's most expensive website. The website is an insurance comparison site that aggregates quotes from leading companies for car, motorcycle, home, and life insurance. Quinn Street also owned popular domain names Insure.com and Internet.com, which they acquired in 2009 for $16 million and $18 million respectively. In 2012, the developer of a luxury condo building in New York City's Greenwich Village listed a parking space for $1 million US. The spot, which measures 3.6 meters by 7 meters, is also 4.5 meters high, meaning the new owner could install an elevator to allow space to park 2 cars. If you were a cashed up billionaire, would you shell out $1 million for a parking space? Let us know down below. This 400 square foot private residence located in South Mumbai is a massive 27 stories tall. It boasts 21 elevators, 6 underground parking floors, 3 separate helicopter pads, and requires a staggering 600 strong staff just to maintain it. Antilia is owned by Mukesh Ambani, the chairman of Reliance Industries, an energy and materials company whose estimated net worth was calculated at $19.2 billion in 2015. The price to live in this amazing megastructure? $1 billion. The History Supreme is a 30 metre, which is around 98.4 foot long, ultra luxurious yacht. Purchased for an insane $4.5 billion by an unnamed businessman, this boat boasts 100,000 kilograms, which is around 220,000 pounds of gold and platinum plating that covers more than half of the yacht's entire surface. If that's not lavish enough, the yacht also has a statue made from an actual Tyrannosaurus Rex bone, a wall feature in the master bedroom made from a meteorite, and a huge aquarium fashioned from another 68 kilograms, which is 150 pounds of 24 karat gold. Bonus time!
Hello, Ham Fam! Have you ever wanted to pitch an idea for an episode? Well, head on over to our Patreon campaign and pledge at a 5 level or higher, and you can start pitching ideas for top 10s. Each month we'll pick one lucky winner and turn their idea into a list. Plus we'll give you an amazing shout out at the end of the episode. If you're interested, head on over, check our campaign out. The links are in the description box below. Well, there's another list down. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to head on over to our Patreon campaign for an amazing rewards list. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. The following list is about 10 real events that inspired some of the best, most notorious episodes of the X-Files, demonstrating that truth is indeed often stranger than fiction. And before we get into it, remember to hit that subscribe button for more awesome creepy content just like this.
This disturbing episode depicts Scully and Mulder delving into the case of Dwayne Barry, a violent mental patient who believes that he's been repeatedly abducted by aliens. During her investigation, Scully discovers that Barry has brain damage as a result of a gunshot to the head, leading to him becoming a pathological liar with psychopathic tendencies. Some of the aspects of this episode are based on the case of Phineas Gage, a 25-year-old railroad worker in Cavendish, Vermont. Gage suffered a severe brain injury after a 13-pound metal bar used to tamp sand on top of an explosive charge caused a spark that shot the bar through his face and skull. Until his injury, Gage had been an even-tempered individual, but his personality changed drastically after the accident. He showed signs of aggression and fitfulness, and was suddenly prone to the use of disturbing profanity, all behaviours that hadn't been demonstrated in the past. It was believed that this change in his behaviours was due to the severe damage to his frontal lobe as a result of the injury. Gage's case was believed to be the first to definitively prove that brain injuries can produce marked personality changes. While most of the X-Files episodes centre on the paranormal or conspiratorial, Irresistible takes a different approach with the introduction of Donnie Pfaster, a budding serial killer who crosses paths with Scully and Mulder. After losing his job as an assistant funeral director for taking a lock of hair from a dead woman, Pfaster moves on to exhuming dead bodies to remove their hair and fingernail clippings to add to his collection of trophies. Pfaster eventually resorts to murder to satisfy his macabre desires. As the episode progresses, Pfaster seems to change in appearance, further frightening his victims. Donnie Pfaster was strongly based on the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, who committed his first murder in 1978 at the age of 18. He was finally captured in July 1991, confessing to have murdered 16 young men since 1978. According to his surviving victims, Dahmer's appearance seemed to change during the course of their captivity, adding to his twisted creep factor. In space, Scully and Mulder visit NASA to investigate the possibility of shuttle sabotage resulting in an aborted launch. Another launch is scheduled and initially it seems to be a success, but contact with the shuttle is soon lost and the shuttle crew find themselves in danger of incineration by the sun. It's soon revealed that Gemini astronaut Colonel Marcus Belt is keeping secrets. During a 1977 mission, he had a strange encounter with the face on Mars. Now he's being influenced by an astral presence that is apparently determined to see the destruction of the shuttle mission, along with the crew and the NASA program itself. In the end, Belt leaps from a window in an attempt to free himself of the possessing force. Chris Carter, the creator of the series, was inspired to write this episode after reading news articles about the face on Mars, as well as pareidolia, where the mind perceives a familiar image from random patterns. Carter also capitalized on the disappearance of the Mars Observer, which occurred around the same time this episode was in production, in August 1993. In this episode, a serial killer has the uncanny ability to project images of his darkest fantasies onto undeveloped film. Scully and Mulder are assigned to the case after photos developed at a pharmacy reveal a young woman screaming surrounded by a distorted background. While searching the killer's apartment, Mulder finds a camera that repeatedly produces the same image of the young woman seen earlier at the pharmacy, leading Mulder to the conclusion that the killer is somehow projecting his desires onto the film. Two different individuals were the basis for this episode of The X-Files. In the 1960s, Ted Sirius, a Chicago hotel worker, developed a talent for thoughtography, a unique ability to project mental images onto film by concentrated thought. His ability rekindled interest in paranormal photography due to the fact that he used Polaroid film, whereas others who claimed to have the ability used film and procedures that were both complicated and easily manipulated. Mass murderer Howard Unruh was the other individual who was the inspiration for this episode. On September 6, 1949, 28-year-old Unruh went on a killing spree dubbed the Walk of Death, killing 13 individuals and injuring 3 others before being apprehended by the police. His reasons for the killings involved personal grudges that he held against his neighbours and local shop owners. Unruh is generally considered to be one of the first lone wolf mass murderers that have led up to the workplace and school shooters that we see on the news today. After a Marine drives his car into a tree committing supposed suicide while working at a Haitian refugee camp, Scully and Mulder head to Haiti, where they soon discover rumours that the detainees are being abused by the camp commander. As they dig deeper, suggestions of curses and voodoo surface, with hints that the government may be at the root of it all. 2 articles about higher suicide rates amongst military personnel posted in Haiti inspired Howard Gordon to write this episode. A 1994 article stated that 3 soldiers had committed suicide over a 3-week period, with morale, living conditions and native reception all being named as possible issues for higher suicide rates. It was determined that the suicide rate was 15 times the US national average, and the assignment seems to have had an unusually negative effect on the soldiers stationed there, in comparison to other locations that are potentially more hostile. When a high-speed car chase ends in Vicky Crump's head exploding and her husband being escorted to the hospital in handcuffs, Scully and Mulder travel to Nevada to investigate. Once there, Mulder finds himself taken hostage by Patrick Crump, a desperate man determined to head west at high speeds to alleviate the pain in his head and prevent it from exploding just as his wife's did. It's left to Scully to find a solution that will save her partner, and she soon discovers that Crump is the victim of a brainwave experiment that can lead to intense inner ear pressure and fatality if he fails to travel towards the Pacific coast. The inspiration for this episode comes from 2 different government programs. Project ELF, a US Navy experiment involving long waves, and Project HARP, a US Army experiment involving electromagnetic radiation in the ionosphere. While the government claims that both HARP and ELF are for research purposes with thoughts towards better communication, conspiracy theorists believe the real purpose of these projects are more sinister, with the creation of new and deadlier weapons being the real motive behind the expensive projects. After receiving a tip that a religious cult leader is caching weapons and abusing children, a raid is staged at the Temple of the Seven Stars, resulting in the arrest of cult leader Vernon Ephesian, along with his wife Melissa and several other followers. Because they can only be held for so long without definitive proof, Ephesian and his followers are released, but another search of the compound for weapons is planned. Knowing that he won't be able to withstand further police interference, Ephesian instructs his men to open fire on the investigating agents, while he and the rest of the cult members drink poison to evade capture. Two different cults were the inspiration for this episode. The Branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventists of Waco, Texas gained notoriety in 1993, when they and their leader, David Koresh, engaged in a 2-month standoff that ended in the death of Koresh and 82 of his followers. The Jonestown Massacre was also a source of inspiration for this episode. On November 18, 1978, Jim Jones ordered his followers to drink cyanide-laced Kool-Aid in a South American jungle community, after Congressman Leo Ryan visited the compound to evaluate the welfare of Jones's followers. Those who refused to drink the poison were later shot. 909 people died in total. Home gained a lot of notoriety due to the fact it was the first episode of The X-Files to receive a viewer discretion warning due to the content that included incest and abuse. The discovery of a severely deformed baby in Pennsylvania soon leads Scully and Mulder to the Peacock brothers, who are found living in squalid conditions without even the basic amenities such as electricity and running water. Initially, it's thought that the brothers had kidnapped a woman to father a child. But eventually, Scully and Mulder find there's evidence of incest in the family that involves the mother of the Peacock clan. Much of this episode was influenced by the story of the Ward brothers, 4 illiterate brothers who lived on a farm near Syracuse, New York. The Ward brothers lived in unbelievable squalor and were awkward in their behaviour, demonstrating very little in the way of social skills. In 1990, Delbert Ward was accused of killing his brother William while he was sleeping. He was later acquitted due to a lack of evidence. Lucy Householder was kidnapped by a deranged man and held captive in darkness for 5 years before making her escape. Several years later, Scully and Mulder investigate the kidnapping of Amy Jacobs, a young teenager who was kidnapped from her bed much as Lucy had been. During the course of the investigation, it comes to Mulder's attention that while at work, Lucy collapsed and suffered from a nosebleed at the same time that Amy was kidnapped. While Scully thinks that Lucy may have been involved in the kidnapping, especially after it's determined that her nosebleed consisted of an additional blood type that matches Amy's, Mulder is convinced of the woman's innocence and believes that she can help them to find the missing girl. Lucy begins to display spontaneous injuries that coincide with the injuries that Amy is receiving from her kidnapper. It's determined that a psychic link between the two has developed. Ultimately, Lucy gives her life in order to save Amy, an act facilitated by the psychic bond that they shared. This episode was heavily influenced by the kidnapping of 12-year-old Polly Klaas, whose kidnapping and murder were a primary news topic when the episode aired. On October 1st, 1993, Richard Allen Davies entered Polly's bedroom where she was having a slumber party and carried her away at knife point after tying up her 2 friends and placing pillowcases over their heads. Later that evening, a call was made to 911 that a vehicle was stuck in a ditch about 20 miles north of Petaluma, California, where Polly was kidnapped. Deputies investigated the call, not knowing about the kidnapping. Davis was the driver of the vehicle. After searching the car and running his license, a tow truck was called and Davis was free to go. On November 28, 1993, the owner of the property where Davis had been stuck found scraps of clothing that matched items that Polly was wearing at the time of the kidnapping, which eventually led to the arrest of Davis. On 4th, he confessed to kidnapping and strangling Polly and led police investigators to the shallow grave where he buried her. It's believed that Davis killed Polly and hid her body in the woods near the ditch where his truck was stuck. He later returned to retrieve the body after the deputies had left. Before we get to that number 1 spot and take a look at a truly bizarre case involving poisonous blood, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on channel notifications. That way you'll be up to date with all the latest content on our channel. Scully and Mulder investigate the case of Dr. William Sakare, a man who appears to have bled green blood after being shot by the police before disappearing without any other trace. Later, when Sakare is picked up by an ambulance, a poisonous gas is released from his body when paramedics attempt to insert a needle into his chest. It's later determined that Sakare is actually a human-alien hybrid whose blood is toxic to humans. The scene involving the release of poisonous gas from Dr. Sakare was directly inspired by the case of Gloria Ramirez. In February 1994, 31-year-old Ramirez was rushed to a California hospital due to the effects of late-stage cervical cancer. It was noted that her skin had an odd oily sheen, and when her blood was drawn, small particles were seen floating in it. Ramirez also had a fruity, garlicky odour coming from her mouth, and her blood gave off a strong smell of ammonia. Soon after drawing her blood, one nurse fainted while another developed breathing issues. Another nurse also fainted and later awoke without the ability to move her arms or legs. 6 individuals had health issues attributed to working on Ramirez, some requiring hospitalization. Ramirez died a short time later due to her cancer. It was eventually speculated that Ramirez had been using dimethyl sulfoxide as a treatment for her cancer. Defibrillation that she received could have converted it to dimethyl sulfate, which would have been toxic to those exposed to it. While this theory is the most popular one, it's never been definitively proven.
Well, that's it for another episode. Thank you so much for watching. Now, in the comments section below, let us know if you're an X-Files fan from way back in the day, and which was your favourite episode. If you're new to our channel and enjoying what you see, slap that upward-facing thumb. It really helps us out. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're talking about unsolved crimes. It's a scary thought, but serial killers are out there. It could be a co-worker, a neighbour, or someone you pass on the street. The following are 10 notorious serial killers that have never been caught. And before we get into it, remember to hit that subscribe button for more chilling, creepy content just like this.
The Oakland County child killer, also known as the babysitter killer, preyed on the children of Oakland County, Michigan for 13 months, from February 1976 to March 1977. The killer abducted and eventually killed 4 children. All 4 children were bathed and fed while held captive, and the killer even went so far as to feed Timothy King fried chicken after watching an interview with his mother, stating that she was going to give her son his favourite meal of Kentucky Fried Chicken when he was returned to her. This earned the killer the title the Babysitter Killer. Mark Stebbins was found on a snowbank in an office parking lot, while the other 3 children were all found in various locations on the side of the road. The state police formed a task force, but no suspects were ever charged, despite all of the publicity and manpower given to the case. From April 1971 to September 1972, the Freeway Phantom went on a killing spree in Washington, D.C., killing 6 African-American girls ranging in age from 10 to 18 years. All 6 were abducted and strangled before being dumped along the highways of D.C. On April 25, 1971, 13-year-old Carol Spinks failed to return home after walking to the store. She was discovered 6 days later on I-295. 16-year-old Darlinia Johnson was the Phantom's next victim. She was abducted on July 8, 1971, and her body was discovered 11 days later, approximately 15 feet from where Carol Spinks was found. On July 27, 1971, 10-year-old Brenda Crockett was abducted when she walked to a store near her home on an errand from her mother. A hitchhiker found her body several hours later on Route 50 near I-295 in Maryland. The next victim was 12-year-old Nenemoshia Yates, who was kidnapped as she walked home from the store on October 1, 1971. Her body was discovered several hours later on Pennsylvania Avenue in Maryland. It was at this time that the killer was given the name Freeway Phantom by the media. The 5th victim, 18-year-old Brenda Woodward, was abducted on November 15, 1971, after having dinner with a friend. She was found by a police officer on Route 202 just 6 hours later. A coat had been draped over Brenda's body and a note from the killer was found in a pocket stating,
"This is testament to my insensitivity to people, especially women. I'll admit the others when you catch me, if you can."
The final known victim of the Freeway Phantom was Diane Williams. She was last seen alive boarding a bus to head home after visiting with her boyfriend on September 5th, 1972. Her body was found a few hours later on I-295 south of the District Line. The only strong lead investigators had was in relation to Robert Elwood Askins, a violent criminal known for his hatred of women. Askins was imprisoned in the mid-70s for the abduction and rape of 2 women in the Washington, D.C. area. He was questioned about the Freeway Phantom killings, but Askins denied any involvement and no physical evidence was found. It was noted by co-workers that Askins was very fond of the word tantamount, an unusual word which was found on the note on Brenda Woodward. From 1978 to 1987, 7 women were murdered in the Connecticut River Valley, spanning Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts and Connecticut. All 7 women had been stabbed and had their throats slit. On October 24, 1978, Kathy Milliken was found with 29 stab wounds in New London, New Hampshire, where she had been photographing birds at a local wetland preserve. The next victim was Mary Elizabeth Critchley, a 37-year-old student who disappeared while hitchhiking to Vermont from Massachusetts on July 25, 1981. Her body was found on August 9th in Unity, New Hampshire. Bernice Kortemunch was last seen alive on May 30th, 1984. The 17-year-old nurse's aide was hitchhiking on New Hampshire's Route 12 to her boyfriend's home. Her body wasn't found until April 1986, when a fisherman found her in Kellyville, New Hampshire. Another nurse, 27-year-old Ellen Freed, disappeared on July 20th, 1984. She had stopped at a payphone late that evening to call her sister. During the phone call, she mentioned that she had spotted a strange car that seemed to be circling the local vicinity. The following September, her body was found in the woods in Kellyville. On July 10, 1985, 27-year-old Ava Morse was last seen hitchhiking in Charlestown, New Hampshire on Route 12. Loggers found her body in 1986 around 500 feet from where Elizabeth Critchley's remains were discovered. The killer then took a different approach. On April 15, 1986, 36-year-old Linda Moore was last seen outside her Saxtons River home doing yard work. When her husband arrived home later that evening, he found the body of his wife, dead from multiple stab wounds. Several individuals came forward to report seeing a 20 to 25-year-old man lurking about Moore's home the day she was killed. A composite sketch was released to the public, but there were no helpful leads. Barbara Agnew, a 38-year-old nurse, was returning home from a ski trip on January 10, 1987. Her body was found on March 28, 1987 in Heartland, Vermont, with multiple stab wounds. On August 6, 1988, the killer struck a final time. 22 years old and 7 months pregnant, Jane Borowski stopped to purchase a drink from a vending machine on her way home from a fair in Keene, New Hampshire. A man pulled her from her car and stabbed her 27 times. He then drove away, leaving her in a vacant parking lot to die. Seriously injured, Borowski still managed to get back in her car and drive to a nearby friend's house. She and her unborn child survived the attack, and she was able to provide the police with a partial license plate number as well as a description of her attacker. After this final attack, however, there were no more killings with the same MO, and the case was designated as a cold case. From September 1934 to August 1938, Cleveland, Ohio was terrorized by the presence of a brutal killer, known as the Cleveland Torso Murderer. The name was given due to the individual's penchant for dismembering the bodies of his victims. A total of 12 bodies were found, all having been decapitated and many having had the limbs removed. Of the 12 bodies, only 3 were positively identified. It was believed that the potential number of victims might be much higher. Edward Andrassy was the first body to be found, and he was discovered in the Jackass Hill area of Kingsbury Run on September 23, 1935. The third body discovered was Florence Genevieve Polillo and was found on January 26, 1936 in the downtown Cleveland area. The 8th body found was believed to be that of Rose Wallace, but there were concerns about the validity of the dental records used for positive identification. She was found on June 6, 1937 near the Lorraine Carnegie Bridge. The killer targeted lower-class individuals, depositing their remains in and around Kingsbury Run. Elliot Ness, the public safety director of Cleveland, took it upon himself to apply his skills as a detective to try and bring some resolution to the case in 1936. The killer chose to taunt Ness, leaving the last 2 of the 12 bodies in an abandoned site in plain view of Ness's office window. Ness responded with a raid on Kingsbury Run, arresting approximately 63 men before burning the town. Ness met with disapproval from the public, with many believing his raid wouldn't halt the killer, but no other bodies were discovered after the raid. Several suspects have been considered in this case, but the identity of the killer remains a mystery. Between 2005 and 2009, Jennings, Louisiana was subjected to the cold reality of a killer on their streets. For over 4 years, the bodies of women would be discovered in the swamps surrounding Jennings. In total, 8 young women were discovered, all of them from Lake Arthur or Jennings. All of the women were involved in prostitution and drug addiction, both issues that had slowly begun to take a toll on the small town. On May 20th, 2005, Loretta Lewis, aged 28, was discovered by a fisherman in a local river. 7 more bodies would follow. The remaining victims were Ernestine Marie Patterson, aged 30, Kristen Lopez, aged 21, Whitney Dubois, aged 26, Laconia Brown, aged 23, Crystal Zeno, aged 24, Brittany Gary, aged 17, and the final victim was Nicole Guillory. Guillory was found in 2009 off Interstate 10 in Arcadia Parish. It was determined that Patterson and Brown had both had their throats cut. The bodies of the other 6 victims were too badly decomposed to positively determine a cause of death, but the coroner suspected that asphyxia was the most likely cause. There were numerous issues with the investigation of this case. Even though a task force was created to address the case, there was a lot of speculation on the conduct of the police department. With allegations of cover-ups and corruption, the case still remains unsolved. The Long Island serial killer began taking the lives of sex workers as far back as 1996, claiming at least 10 victims and possibly more. In 2010, the work of this killer finally came to the attention of law enforcement officers while they were searching for Shannon Gilbert, a missing escort. Officers were searching Gilgo Beach in Long Island, New York in December 2010, and while Gilbert wasn't found until 2011, 4 other bodies were discovered. The 4 victims were Maureen Brainard Barnes, age 25, Melissa Barthélemy, age 24, Megan Waterman, age 22, and Amber Lynn Costello, age 26. 6 more bodies were eventually discovered in the Gilgo Beach area, a location that was relatively isolated due to contamination issues. Of the 6 additional victims, only Jessica Taylor, age 20, was positively identified. All of the victims had been strangled and some had been dismembered. Some of the first bodies discovered were also wrapped in burlap sacks, but the bodies that were later discovered were not. The 5 victims who had been identified were all escorts who advertised on Craigslist. All 5 had also mentioned to friends and colleagues that they were meeting clients on the night of their disappearance. It was likely that they had all been contacted by the Long Island serial killer. There have been several persons of interest in this case, including former Suffolk County Police Chief James Burke, but none of these leads came to fruition. It's been speculated that the killer might have had some type of police experience, due to their ability to cover up their tracks and outmaneuver the police investigation. On February 2nd, 2009, 11 women ranging in age from 15 to 32 years were discovered in the desert on the West Mesa of Albuquerque, New Mexico. A woman who was walking her dog discovered a human bone and contacted the police. The bodies were discovered over 92 acres of land, and it took investigators several weeks to recover all of the bodies. After the bodies were recovered, it took another year to identify all of the victims, of which 10 were drug addicts and prostitutes. All of the women had been missing for some time before they were actually discovered, all having disappeared between 2001 and 2005. Most of the women were Hispanic. Silania Edwards was the only African American victim, as well as the only victim who wasn't from New Mexico. She was a runaway from Lawton, Oklahoma. Police hoped to placate the families of the victims with promises that they would catch the killer. But there wasn't a lot for them to work with, even with the aid of FBI profilers and statewide cooperation of law enforcement agencies. There were no witnesses and no forensic evidence to speak of where the bodies were found. The only things that the victims shared were their lifestyles and the fact that most of them were Hispanic. There has never been any official suspects in the case. Beginning in 1911 and for the next 4 years, Atlanta was plagued with a murderer that was specifically targeting African American and mixed-raced women. It's believed that as many as 22 women were killed, all of them in their early to mid-20s. Most of the women had their heads crushed and their throats cut. Mary Putnam and Ava Florence also had their hearts removed. Emma Lou Sharp had perhaps the most harrowing encounter. On July 1st, 1911, Sharp went in search of her mother when she hadn't returned home from doing some shopping. She encountered a man who approached her, asking how she was feeling. Sharp gave a response that she was fine and turned to walk away. The man blocked her passage and stated that he'd never hurt girls like you. He then stabbed Sharp in the back with a knife. Sharp managed to escape to safety, but her mother was later discovered dead nearby. It has been argued that this case wasn't given the attention it was needed by local law enforcement and the press due to racial inequality. Several women were killed before any real attention was given to the case by the press. In all, 5 suspects were arrested, including Todd Henderson, John Daniel, Charlie Owens, Henry Brown, and Henry Huff. But the killings continued. Some people believe it was the work of multiple killers. Eventually, the killings stopped as suddenly as they had started. From January 1974 until September 1975, the gay community of San Francisco was the target of a ruthless killer known as the Doodler. He was given this name because he would sketch his intended victims to intrigue them and put them at ease, usually at one of several gay clubs in San Francisco. He would then entice them to leaving the bar with him in search of a more private setting, where he would first have sex with them before stabbing and killing them. In total, 14 men were killed and 3 others were assaulted by the Doodler. The Doodler's first victim, Gerald Kavanagh, age 49, was found on San Francisco Beach on January 27, 1974. His next victim was Joseph J. Stevens, a 27-year-old female impersonator. It was thought that the killer had Stevens drive them to Spreckles Lake on June 25, 1974, where Stevens was later found dead. Several more victims followed, including Klaus A. Christman, age 31, Frederick Elmer Kappen, age 32, and Harold Gulberg, age 66. 3 men survived assaults by the Doodler. No names or identities have ever been given, but it's believed that one was a popular entertainer, one was a European diplomat, and one was a publicly recognized San Francisco figure. Because these gentlemen were concerned about their sexual preferences being revealed to the public, none were willing to come forward and testify when the police apprehended a suspect that they felt was responsible for the killings. Because of their unwillingness to come forward, the suspect was released and his identity was never revealed to the public. Before we get to that number 1 spot and take a look at one of the most notorious serial killers of all time, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on channel notifications. That way you'll never miss any of our creepy content. Jack the Ripper was, and still is, one of the world's most infamous criminals. He killed 5 prostitutes between August 31st and November 7th, 1888 in the Whitechapel district of London's East End. There's been much speculation about who Jack the Ripper actually was, as well as what his profession might have been because of the precision with which he mutilated the bodies of his victims. It's thought that he had a keen understanding of human anatomy, leading many to believe that he may have been a doctor or some other professional with extensive medical knowledge. The killer was dubbed Jack the Ripper due to a letter written by an individual claiming to be the killer. The letter was ultimately considered to be a hoax, but the name stuck. Police officers attempted to discover who the killer was. Forensic evidence was gathered, house-to-house searches were performed, and over 300 people were questioned. The final number of suspects named as the possible killer reached over 100, but no definite answers were ever found. There's been some speculation that H.H. Holmes, the Chicago serial killer who murdered at least 27 people in his murder castle in the late 1800s, could actually be Jack the Ripper. Due to the graphic nature of the murders, we can't actually describe how the 5 victims were killed. If you're interested, I suggest you do a little side googling in your own time.
well, that was a little bit chilling. In the comments section below, let us know which one of these serial killers you thought was the creepiest. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up as well, it really helps us out. And that's it for me, I'll see you all next time. Pew! From a photo of a mysterious object orbiting Earth to a picture of a star system that looks like the Eye of Sauron. Join us as we take a look at 10 mysterious photos taken in space.
In 1998, a series of photographs taken by NASA revealed something unusual in Earth's orbit. Thought by many to be a satellite of extraterrestrial origin, some believe this mysterious object may have been orbiting Earth for more than 13,000 years. Some think that radio waves heard by Nikola Tesla in an 1899 experiment may have been emitted by this alien satellite. Others believe that the mysterious object is nothing more than a thermal blanket reported lost during a spacewalk conducted by US astronauts Jerry Ross and James Newman. This image of the Crab Nebula was assembled from 24 individual exposures taken from the Hubble Space Telescope in 1999 and 2000. The Crab Nebula is the remnant of a giant star that ended in a supernova explosion nearly 1,000 years ago. The supernova was so bright that it was seen and recorded by Chinese astronomers in the year 1054, making it the first astronomical object identified with a historical supernova explosion. The Crab Nebula cannot be seen with the naked eye but can be made out using binoculars in good conditions. The nebula gets its name from the 3rd Earl of Ross, William Parsons, who, in 1840, observed the object through a telescope and produced a drawing that many thought looked like a crab. An image taken on Mars by NASA in 2015 had many believing it was proof of life on the red planet. A close-up of the side of the rock wall revealed a shape that some think resembles a crab-like creature. Despite the initial internet buzz, a senior astronomer at the Center for SETI Research said the space crab was something else entirely. He believed it could be explained with a phenomenon known as pareidolia. Pareidolia is the brain's ability to see shapes in random objects, like a face in the moon or a dog in the clouds. The object does, however, look out of place in the harsh rocky landscape. What do you think, alien creature or just our brains playing tricks on us? Let us know in the comments section below. Fomalhaut is one of the most visible stars in the night sky and the brightest star in the constellation of Pisces Austrinus. The star and its surrounding system bear an eerie resemblance to the Eye of Sauron from the Lord of the Rings films. Within this system is an extrasolar object thought to be a planet known as Fomalhaut b or Dagon. This planet has a very unusual, highly elliptical orbit. It has an orbit of nearly 2,000 years, coming as close as 4.6 billion miles to its star, and at its outermost point 27 billion miles away from its star. Scientists believe that this strange orbit may be a result of a yet undiscovered planet that gravitationally ejected Fomalhaut b from a more circular orbit at some point in time. The unusual orbit takes Fomalhaut b through the system's outer dust ring, where it spends around 1,000 years in deep freeze before returning into the system. Scientists also believe that the reason this planet is unusually bright is that as it returns through the system's outer dust ring, any satellites orbiting the planet would suffer great impact from surrounding objects, creating a dust cloud that reflects starlight similar to the ring of Saturn. When the Viking 1 spacecraft took a series of images of the surface of Mars, one in particular caught the eye of astronomers. The photo, which was released by NASA in 1976, is of an area known as Cydonia, and it seems to show a large humanoid face carved into the Mesa. While experts dismiss the image as an illusion of light and poor photo quality, many have argued that this image proves there was life on Mars at some point in time. Many successful spacecraft have photographed the area with gradually improving resolution, leading NASA to state that a detailed analysis of multiple images of this feature reveals a natural-looking Martian hill, whose illusory face-like appearance depends on the viewing angle and angle of illumination. What do you think, a face or just our peepers playing tricks on us? Let us know in the comments section below. This image, taken from the Hubble Space Telescope in 2002, shows an outburst from the star V838 Monocerotis. Originally, it was thought to be a typical nova eruption, a process that occurs when hydrogen is pulled from one star's surface onto another star, resulting in a nuclear explosion. It turned out that what scientists were witnessing was something completely different altogether. Several theories have since been put forward, including the possibility that it was merging with another star or planets. Whatever the process, V838 Monocerotis briefly became one of the largest known stars and one of the most luminous in the Milky Way galaxy. Check out this amazing time-lapse of V838 Monocerotis taken from the Hubble Space Telescope's YouTube channel. A photo taken by NASA's Curiosity rover on May 7, 2015 had some believing that we had just discovered pyramids on Mars. Despite some initial confusion about the scale of the photo, the pyramid-shaped object is believed by experts to be only about the height of a soda can, just a small volcanic rock that has eroded over time into a sharp angle. In 1972, the crew of Apollo 17 took a series of photos on the Moon. This picture was originally catalogued by NASA as sunstruck, but with the contrast adjusted, it appears to show a pyramid-like structure in the background. Apollo 17 was the sixth and most recent manned moon landing and the final mission of the Apollo lunar landing program. Could this photo be evidence that there are pyramids on the Moon similar to those of Egypt? This photo was captured in 2004 by Spirit, NASA's Mars Explorer vehicle. Taken in close proximity to the vehicle's landing location, it seems to show some sort of humanoid figure making its way across the rocky terrain. When the picture was first released, the internet ran rife with speculation. Everything from an ancient bronze statue to some sort of extraterrestrial Bigfoot was considered. Skeptics dismissed the claims, pointing out that the object could only be a few inches high as it's within meters of the vehicle. What do you think, unusual rock or mysterious creature traversing the landscape? This amazing image is a composite of several images created by the Hubble Heritage team. It is of a nebula 8,000 light-years from Earth known as Menzel 3. Menzel 3, located in the Norma constellation, bears a striking resemblance to a gigantic interstellar ant. Sometimes referred to as the Ant Nebula, its structure is somewhat of a mystery, with some researchers believing that the fiery protrusions may be caused by strong magnetic fields emitted by the dying star. Another theory is that its center may consist of two stars orbiting around a common point, with the possibility that the dying star may have expanded so much it has consumed its companion, which may be still orbiting inside it.
Well, that's it for another episode. Now, some of you are saying you're not getting our latest uploads in your content feed. The best way to combat that is next to the subscribe button, there's a little bell icon. Click that, and that'll make sure you get the freshest, slappiest ham in your push notifications and email every time we upload. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew!
Slap-ham.
5 pieces of shocking ghost footage caught on security camera. Have these security cameras captured proof of ghosts? From a strange blue spirit floating around a gas station to a terrifying poltergeist attack. Join us as we take a look at 5 pieces of shocking ghost footage caught on security camera. In 2007, a security camera at a gas station in Palmer, Ohio captured something very unusual floating around the petrol pumps. Both workers and patrons are stunned at the footage, unable to explain whether this is a ghost caught on camera or not. Here's some footage taken by a security camera in a Japanese car park. It shows several cars driving past when a mysterious ghost figure appears out of nowhere, then vanishes just as quickly as it materialized. This security camera in a Blockbuster video store in Mexico has captured something very eerie. At night, employees often report that an unknown force has blown air on their necks or pushed them in the back. This footage shows one such employee experiencing some kind of paranormal activity. There are very few details about this CCTV footage supposedly filmed at some kind of IT park. It shows a man walking down a hallway, but what happens after that is absolutely chilling. This security camera captures a hooded man walking down a hallway, but what happens next is the stuff of nightmares. It would appear some kind of spirit or demon appears out of nowhere and pushes the man to the ground, then drags him down the hallway. The entity then vanishes as the man runs for his life. Well, hey, remember to check under your bed for demons, because that's where they like to lurk. As always, thanks heaps for watching. If you really want to help us out, hit that thumbs up button. Let's try and get this video to 1,500 likes. And this is the slap arm shining off.
How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're talking about creepy things that live underground. From a monster filmed by sewer inspectors to a dragon spotted living inside a cave. Join us as we take a look at the 10 creepiest things discovered underground. And before we get into it, remember to hit that subscribe button for more awesome creepy content just like this.
In this creepy video posted by YouTuber Timothy L. Chibu, a group of teenagers can be seen entering an uncovered sewer tunnel. The tunnel leads into a cave-like passageway and they slowly make their way deeper until they come to a turn. Suddenly the group seems hesitant to continue, possibly hearing something move up ahead. One of the boys edges his way towards the corner, shining a light to see if he can catch a glimpse of whatever it is in front of them. Suddenly, a creature rushes out of the darkness. It appears to be moving on its hind legs. The group runs back down the tunnel and out onto the safety of the street. What could this strange creature actually be? Has this group of teenagers stumbled across the lair of some sort of sewer monster? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. This video, uploaded to GameStar's YouTube channel in 2016, may have captured something sinister lurking below the Walthamstow Underground Station in London. If you look closely as the camera pans along the corridor, you can see something lift one of the tiles on the floor and peer out. The poster claims he didn't even notice the tile lifting until he watched the footage the following day. Is it possible that someone or something has made its home in the underground passageways of this old station? Or could it have a simpler explanation? Perhaps it's just a technician or engineer. Let us know what you think is lurking beneath the Walthamstow station in London. In 2016, the Exploring Abandoned Mines and Unusual Places YouTube channel posted this very unsettling footage. A man, known only as Frank, was exploring the abandoned Waldeck mine in Wiluna, Western Australia, when he managed to capture some very creepy sounds coming from deep inside the tunnels. At the 12:10 mark in the video, you can hear what sounds like a ghostly voice calling out. The explorer looks and sounds visibly shaken, saying, "I've heard some weird stuff in mines, but that is definitely creepy. I don't know what it is, so let's get out of here." The explorer quickly makes his way back along the tunnel towards the exit. He stops every few seconds, looking behind to make sure he's not being followed. What could be making these mysterious sounds? If you listen closely, there's no audible words, however it sounds like it could be a human voice chanting something. Since the video was released, many have speculated about what the sounds might actually be. Some believe it could have been the ghostly voice of a miner who perhaps lost his life deep underground. Others think it may have been a group of cultists performing some sort of sinister ritual. Whatever the sound is, I'm fairly certain this explorer won't be returning to this mine anytime soon. In this video, uploaded by YouTuber Abraham, a person is seen exploring a dark, unknown cave. The explorer pans their flashlights around the ground and notices something strange. They pick the object up and it appears to be a giant egg. The top is missing, as though something rather large has already hatched out. The explorer continues searching the area when suddenly a creature darts out from behind a rock. It looks to have dark, scaly skin and 4 horns protruding from its head. Many claim that this video might actually be proof of the existence of dragons. Because the quality of the footage is poor and the location is unknown, it's difficult to do more than speculate about what this creature might be. Some have claimed that the video appears to be edited, while others believe the footage is genuine. What do you think the explorers discovered deep inside this cave? Is this video proof that dragons actually exist, or is it just a well-crafted hoax? In 2004, police discovered a mysterious cinema hidden deep within the catacombs, 60 feet beneath the Palais de Chaillot in Paris, France. The cinema, which included a restaurant and bar, was discovered by local police while on a routine training exercise. The cinema included a full-size screen, projection equipment, and an extensive collection of films. They found that it was running on a professionally installed electricity system, and there was also at least 3 phone lines down there as well. The police returned to the site 3 days later along with experts from a French electrical company, only to find that all the phone lines and electricity supplies had been cut out. Everything was gone except a note lying in the middle of the floor saying, "Do not try to find us." It was later discovered that the mysterious underground cinema was actually the work of Urban Experiment, a secret organisation that restores forgotten areas of Paris. In 2007, the group received more attention when they secretly restored the famous clock in the Pantheon located in the Latin Quarter of Paris. Once they completed their work, they notified the administrator of the Pantheon, who immediately called the police. A police unit was formed to track the group through the catacombs of Paris, and charges were eventually laid against the members responsible for restoring the clock. However, after 20 minutes of deliberation, the judge ruled in Urban Experiment's favour, and the case was thrown out of court. In 2016, Florida resident Louis Camacho went to check the mail when he suddenly felt a strong vibration coming from beneath his feet. Thinking it was an earthquake, he stepped down to street level and heard a loud hissing sound coming from the drain. Grabbing his camera, Camacho peered inside and was horrified to see an 8-foot alligator staring back at him. You can hear the beast hiss once again, warning Camacho to back away. I wouldn't want to be the owner of that green ball floating next to the gator's mouth. Hopefully no children stick their hands down trying to retrieve it. This creepy photo was captured on Google Street View. At first glance, there doesn't appear to be anything out of the ordinary, that is until you notice the sinister looking clown peering out of the sewer. While it's possible that this photo could just be a prank, it would be extremely difficult to pull off. The clown would need to be waiting in the sewer for the Google Street View car to come by, hoping that the camera is perfectly positioned. Clowns in general are creepy enough, but put them in a sewer and it's a whole new level of terror. What do you think, prank or Pennywise? In 2011, YouTuber Shimmy Jim Hog claimed to have been hearing strange noises coming from the sewer near his home, so he decided to grab a camera and investigate. He makes his way into the sewer when he suddenly hears a screeching sound coming from further inside. As he heads deeper, he's confronted by some sort of bizarre creature. It looks thin and gaunt, and the light reflects off its eyes, making it look as though they're glowing. It lets out another shriek. The boy is noticeably startled as he repeats, "I won't hurt you," over and over. Suddenly the monster lets out another cry, this one more intense than the last. The boy runs for his life as the creature gives chase. The poster claimed that he ran home as fast as he could and barely managed to escape the beast. On March 26, 1974, 21-year-old Terry Matthew Betts was examining the damage of a bushfire at his home in Fort George Island, Florida, when he discovered a strange metallic sphere buried in the ground. The sphere, which had a diameter of around 8 inches and weighed around 22 pounds, didn't look as though it had been affected in any way by the fire. Thinking it was possibly a piece of fallen satellite, Betts decided to take the mysterious metal ball home. A few weeks later, he was playing his guitar when the sphere began to vibrate. The sound was said to have disturbed the family dog, who would run and hide any time it began to hum. The Betts family also discovered that if they pushed the ball, it would roll as though it had a mind of its own, often returning to its original position. They also claimed that when the ball was placed on a table, it would roll right to the edge, stop, and then roll to the other side as though it was trying to find a way back to the ground safely. The Betts family took their discovery to a photojournalist named Lon Enger, who described how the ball moved in the St. Petersburg Times. It turned by itself and rolled to the right about 4 feet. It stopped, then it turned again and rolled to the left about 8 feet, made a big arc and came right back to my feet. It was examined by the US military, who found that the sphere was made from a very high-grade steel, and that there was 2 round objects inside the sphere surrounded by a halo made of a material with an unusual density. There were many theories as to what the strange sphere actually was. Some thought it could have been an alien probe or satellite, while others thought it could have been some sort of strange doomsday device designed to bring about the end of the world. Dr. James Albert Harder, a professional of civil and hydraulic engineering at the University of California, examined the sphere and reported his findings to the International UFO Congress in Chicago on June 24, 1977. He concluded that the two internal spheres must be made of elements far heavier than anything known to science. He went on to say that, if one were to drill into the sphere, perhaps the masses would go critical and explode like an atomic bomb. Harder then warned those in attendance that there was also a possibility that the sphere was still under surveillance by its alien makers, and that no one else should attempt to investigate the device. Soon after Dr. Harder's examination of the sphere, it mysteriously disappeared from the public eye. To this day, it's not known whether the Betts family still have it in their possession, or if, like many other alleged pieces of extraterrestrial technology, it was confiscated by some secret organization. Before we get to that number one spot and take a look at some sort of mysterious sewer creature, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on channel notifications. That way you'll be up to date with all our latest creepy content. When this video first appeared in 2011, it immediately caused a stir. It was reported that the footage was captured during a routine sewer inspection by a UK water company. What they caught on tape is the stuff of nightmares. As the camera moves forward, some sort of creature can be seen peering around the corner. The glare of the camera light reflects off the beast's eyes, making them appear to glow in the dark. The camera edges forwards again as the creature disappears behind the wall. A few seconds later it reappears, almost as though it's curiously inspecting the camera. The camera rolls forward once again and the creature darts behind the wall. What has this water company captured lurking in the suburban sewers of the UK? Could it actually be some sort of sewer monster? Let us know what you think in the comments section below.
Well, there's another episode down. Thank you so much for watching. If you can't get enough of the old slapped ham, there's an embedded link right there, or there's some playlist links in the description box below. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew!
From a mysterious flying creature slamming into a windscreen to a bolt of lightning striking a moving car, join us as we take a look at 8 bizarre traffic accidents caught on camera. This footage was taken on a road in Qingtai, China. It shows 2 white vans approaching an intersection when suddenly something very strange happens. Out of nowhere, the 2 vans lift off the ground and get pushed backwards. It's as though a strong gust of wind just picks them up. Many theorists believe some kind of paranormal force lifted the cars into the air. The answer, however, is a little more grounded. According to the driver of the van, the street cleaner, seen on the right hand side of the screen, got tangled up in some fallen cabling. It then pulled taut across the road, pushing the vans up into the air. This footage was taken by stunned motorists in Khao Yai National Park in Thailand. Here we see a bull elephant during mating season causing havoc on the road. It climbs all over the cars, mounting their roofs, sitting on their bonnets and tearing shreds off their bumpers. There's not a lot of information available about this clip. Taken in an unknown location, it shows several people driving down a highway when things take a turn for the worst. Out of the sky, a mysterious object flies into the windscreen, causing them to swerve off the road. Some claim it's some kind of winged creature, calling it a demon, a goblin, a flying alien. Skeptics have noted that cameras don't glitch out like that even when smashed around, leaving a lot of internet commentators shouting fake. Whatever the case may be, it's an alarming piece of footage, and I hope no one was injured as a result. This incredible footage was taken on the 29th of December 2014 in Victoria, Australia. It's on a notoriously dangerous stretch of road known as the Black Spur. As high winds sweep through the forest, a tree gives way, falling across the road. Then another one, and another one. Oh dear Lord, the whole forest is falling down. While this isn't a traffic accident as such, it does involve cars. Filmed on board the cargo ship Aston Gate in the wake of a storm, a number of smashed Japanese imported cars are seen strewn about the deck. As the vessel travelled from Japan to Russia with a cargo of 64 cars, 52 of them were flung into the ocean as the ship encountered unusually choppy seas. There's little information how exactly the accident occurred, as no distress signals were recorded during the ship's transit. Reports have noted that a clause in the shipping contract states that owners are importing the cars at their own risk. Woof, that's 52 uninsured cars sitting at the bottom of the ocean. This wild footage was captured by a CCTV camera on the property of a manufacturing plant in Edmonton, Canada. It shows a pickup truck driving down the highway when suddenly a bolt of lightning strikes down onto the roof of the car. The elderly couple that were in the truck at the time were luckily saved by a passing police officer just moments after the stream of electricity hit. On September 1st, 2015, this dashcam captured some extraordinary footage while driving down the highway in San Bernardino, California. It shows the moment when an intoxicated woman steps out of the driver's seat of a moving car and calmly walks onto the sidewalk. The car, which was left in gear, careens into oncoming traffic, forcing drivers to take evasive action. According to the Daily Mail, the driver was so intoxicated she was unable to give a statement to police. Infuriatingly, she was released without charge due to insufficient evidence. If clear video footage and blood alcohol readings aren't sufficient evidence, then I don't know what is. This is the Lefortovo Tunnel in Moscow, Russia. It's been known to cause so many accidents that it's been nicknamed the Tunnel of Death. Built in 2003, it runs under the Yaltsa River, which has been known to leak down into the tunnel. In winter, temperatures can drop as low as minus 38 degrees Celsius, which freezes the leaking river water, creating a very dangerous stretch of road. This CCTV footage highlights just how deadly it can be. An icy road can explain most of these accidents along this tunnel of doom, but how do they explain this one? Watch closely as out of nowhere this truck collides with another invisible truck. If anyone can explain this accident, please leave a comment below.
Schlapham.
10 UFO sightings caught on camera. From a UFO caught on the BBC News to a flying object dropping glowing orbs down on Earth. Join us as we take a look at 10 UFO sightings caught on camera. On July 4th, 2016, a strange light was seen hovering in the night sky over Tucson, Arizona. You can see a large white orb that blinks on and off sporadically. At the 1:20 mark, a second object appears, then flashes brightly before disappearing. Many skeptics have noted that July 4th is a common night for firework displays, but do these look like ordinary fireworks? On the 2nd of August 2016, the Malcolm W. Martin Memorial Park Facebook page uploaded this clip. It's taken from a security camera overlooking the Mississippi River and Gateway Arch in St. Louis, USA. The footage shows a glowing ball hovering in the sky for around 5 minutes. It moves about the sky erratically, disappears, then reappears in different spots. One local tried explaining the footage as headlights from cars parking in the Mississippi River overlook. What do you think, headlights or visitors from outer space? In November 2015, numerous Californian residents saw some very strange lights in the night sky. People from Reno to Los Angeles spotted a blue light flaring across the horizon. Several different pieces of footage were uploaded, each capturing the same strange blue light. Dozens of calls flooded into 911 reporting the unidentified flying object. The following morning, the US Navy issued a statement that they had been testing a ballistic missile off the coast of California. It just seems awfully convenient for the Navy to issue a statement like that. Would they really fire missiles near a heavily populated coastline completely unannounced, terrifying hundreds of residents? Bit strange. There's very little info on this piece of footage. It's supposedly taken by a couple as they flew over Poland in a commercial airliner. What their camera captured is very unusual. It appears to be a massive floating object drifting by the aeroplane. If anyone has any information on this clip or can translate what the couple is saying, please leave a comment below. On January 8, 2005, a man captured what appears to be a fleet of UFOs hovering over an unknown part of Mexico. There are 40 to 50 glowing orbs floating in the sky. Many claim the sighting to be balloons or Chinese lanterns, but when the footage zooms in, it looks as though the objects are steering themselves around each other. This footage was taken in July 2016 during a flyover of the city of Melbourne, Australia. In the background there's a strange floating shape to the right side of the city. It's a thin structure hovering in mid-air. What do you think, hovering spacecraft or a glitch in the film? This startling footage was taken in an unknown part of the Philippines in 2014. At first it's difficult to tell what's happening as the footage only shows two glowing objects on a dark background, but you can see smaller orb-like objects falling to the ground. A night vision lens is used to clarify the image, and what it captures is very striking. It's clear that this UFO is dropping numerous balls of light down on the ground. Are there any plausible explanations for this footage? In October 2014, the BBC was reporting on pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. What they inadvertently captured on film is startling. You can see above the sea of protesters between the two buildings, a flying object moves towards the right of camera. It pauses for a moment, then flies straight up at an accelerated rate. It's very hard to explain this footage as the BBC captured it live, making it impossible for anyone to tamper with or alter in any way. This piece of footage caused quite a stir amongst both the scientific and conspiracy theory communities. Taken on August 6, 1997, this hefty flying object was filmed flying over Mexico City. The community has divided almost in half on whether the footage is real or fake. Some say there are dubious digital artifacts hidden in the still frames of the clip. Others have noted that back in 1997 there were no programs available to the public powerful enough to fake this footage. Other perplexing evidence is the 12 or so witnesses from across the city that reported seeing the craft flying through the air. What do you think, real or fake? If you've got any information on this clip, leave a comment below. June 2016 in Menangle, New South Wales, Australia, up to 8 strange glowing objects were filmed flying through the sky. The footage shows these craft steadily moving to the left of screen. Then a darker, more solid looking object can be seen hovering in the sky. 2 of the glowing balls previously seen seem to fly into this hovering object. Bonus time! We're giving away 3 Slaptam t-shirts to some lucky viewers. To enter, all you have to do is follow us on Twitter and retweet this tweet. We're only running this competition for a few days, so get in quick. Remember, you must be following us and retweet the tweet to enter the draw. Hurry, do it now or you'll miss out on a chance to win a wicked Slaptam tee. A link is in the description box below. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's a UFO coming down to probe our anuses. As always, thanks heaps for watching. If you're enjoying the content, hit that thumbs up button. Remember to share this video around with your friends and family. And this is a Slaptam shining.
From mysterious murders to a shadow demon that watches you while you sleep. Join us as we take a cautious peep at 11 haunted asylums that are sure to give you chills.
This forbidding building was a private home before becoming a hospital during World War II. It is known to have a haunted bedroom where the spectre of a murdered servant girl begins to cry at exactly 4:30 AM. Several caretakers who have stayed in the room say they've seen the girl standing at the foot of the bed. She rants almost incoherently about a man who did something to her. Some say she was raped and murdered by the former owner's son. Now her spirit is trapped eternally looking for an escape. Located in Hong Kong, this former asylum was used by Japanese soldiers to execute enemies in World War II. There are reports of decapitated victims roaming the halls, the sound of crying, and even visions of a man catching on fire. Because of this, the Sai Ying Pun Hospital has been nicknamed the High Street Ghost House. Located in western West Virginia, this asylum housed a range of occupants, from murderers and rapists to petty offenders of substance abuse and even sufferers of depression. This odd mix of patients led to a harrowing environment of violence and abuse, leaving behind tortured souls that cry out in the night. The traumatic pain of ice-pick lobotomies, rape and torture is imprinted upon this property, giving all those who visit a cold and forbidding feeling. Visitors have reported objects moving on their own, lights flickering, shadows in the distance disappearing. In Ward R is the room of a young girl named Lily that died in the asylum. They say on some cold nights you can see her waiting patiently for someone to play with her before disappearing. Are the former patients doomed to wander the echoed halls of this troubled asylum, or is it just a case of visitors projecting their fears? Considered one of the most haunted places in South Korea, the Gonjiam Psychiatric Hospital is about as creepy as it gets. After its doors inexplicably closed to the public in the mid-90s, rumours spread that patients and even staff had been mysteriously dying. Many speculated that one of the doctors at the hospital had been performing experimental procedures on unwilling patients. A formal statement was never released as to why the hospital went into foreclosure. Now the property sits overgrown and abandoned, each room paint-flecked and stained, broken glass everywhere. One urban explorer noted in their blog that sticky notes were left at an unmanned desk, one stating that the hospital should have been evacuated immediately. Locals warn all tourists to stay away from the property. They say eerie groans can be heard at night, lone figures spotted in windows. There's even one report of a visitor running out of the building covered in scratches and blood, saying that something clawed at him. Whatever's happening in Gonjiam Psychiatric Hospital, I'd suggest you think twice before visiting. This forbidding hospital in St. Augustine, Florida was built on an Indian burial ground. Now anyone who's familiar with horror movies knows it's a good idea to stay well away from ancient Indian burial grounds. It is believed that the ghosts of dead patients haunt the hospital halls, and objects have been known to move by themselves inside the building. Some visitors have said that the hospital beds inexplicably shift and slide about the room. The Royal Hope Hospital is considered to be one of the most haunted locations in Florida. This isolated and abandoned sanatorium in British Columbia, Canada is said to be haunted by a murdered nurse. Sightings of orbs have been reported by visitors, and there's even been claims of spectral voices as well as a depressing change in visitors' moods. The tunnel network below the building is where a lot of the sightings take place. One urban explorer reported being chased down a dark tunnel by a mist-like figure. As far as we can tell, the site has been marked for demolition for years. Apartments and parkland are proposed to be built on the property, but if I were you, I'd think twice before buying a house in this neighbourhood. This sprawling complex once contained some of the most dangerous and misunderstood patients on Earth. Located in rural Victoria, Australia, the asylum was built in 1864 to accommodate an apparent increase of mentally ill citizens in the Victorian colonies. Due to its isolated location, people at the time turned a blind eye to the barbaric practices taking place at the asylum. Often patients were left in tiny wooden boxes, restrained and abandoned until they were deemed calm. Over 10,000 people died in the asylum, and many ghostly apparitions have been spotted over the years. Some visitors have reported unusual pains as they walk by the men's surgery wing. Cold winds often blow out of the old facility director's office. Disembodied moans can be heard down dark hallways. There's a sense of always being watched by figures in the periphery. It's as though a deep sadness has been permanently pressed upon this property. Taunton State Hospital was built in 1854 to relieve a burgeoning demand for psychiatric treatment in Massachusetts. At one stage it was the home of infamous female serial killer Jane Toppin, who killed over 30 people. While working as a nurse, Toppin would administer a lethal mixture of drugs to her patients. She'd then hop into bed with them and hold them close as they died. When finally arrested, she gave this chilling statement, saying that she wanted to have killed more people, helpless people, than any other man or woman who ever lived. Toppin is just one reason why Taunton State Hospital is so chilling. It is said that some of the hospital staff would force the patients into the basement and perform bizarre rituals on them, invoking demons and spirits into the halls of the asylum itself. There are reports of a shadow demon who can travel through walls to terrorize visitors. Many have said the demon watches patients sleeping at night from the corner of the room. Also known as the Athens Hospital for the Insane, this creepy building rests on the burial ground of 2,000 people. The hospital is said to be haunted by the ghost of Margaret Schilling, a patient who died in Ward 20. On December 1st, Schilling went missing, and for 42 days no one knew where she went. Then, deep in an abandoned wing of the hospital, her naked, decomposing body was found locked in an empty room, her clothes folded neatly in one corner. Schilling's body was so badly deteriorated that it left a stain on the floor. Despite hospital staff's every effort to clean the floor, a body-shaped mark was permanently etched into the ground. Some urban explorers say they've heard scratching at the door of Ward 20. Perhaps it's the spirit of Margaret Schilling trying to escape her awful fate. Built in 1935, the old Changi Hospital in Singapore was used as a torture chamber and a prison camp by Japanese secret police during World War II. Regarded as the most haunted location in Singapore, the hospital is famous for having a spirit that follows visitors around even after they've exited the building. An indie horror movie called Haunted Changi was filmed on location in the old Changi Hospital. It's a found footage, amateur-style movie that follows several students who investigate the abandoned building. While filming, the crew reported numerous paranormal happenings. They experienced unexplained noises, whispers from dark rooms, and even spotted on several occasions an old woman with what they describe as a dark aura who vanished into nothing. The crew even captured a shadow figure on film, which they kept in the final cut of the movie. Now, if you want to watch Haunted Changi, it can be a bit hard to find. In the description box below, we've put an Amazon link to where you can rent or buy it. Also known as Mayday Hills Lunatic Asylum, this rural Victorian hospital was famous for its lax rules regarding institutionalization. With only 2 signatures, a person could be committed to the institution. Almost 10,000 people died in the building, the patients often restrained and treated with electroshock therapy. Beechworth is reportedly haunted by the ghost of a young Jewish woman who was mysteriously thrown to her death from a window. Because of strict religious beliefs, her body lay decomposing on the ground for 2 days, while a rabbi came from Melbourne to officially move the body. Several visitors claim they've seen a young girl under the window where the incident happened. This photo shows the window where the young girl fell to her death. You can clearly see a white orb floating in the air above the balcony. Another traumatic tale is that of a missing patient who couldn't be found for weeks. Finally, his body was discovered because a local dog named Max was found chewing a human leg near the gatehouse at the edge of the property. A search party investigated the area only to discover the patient's body badly decomposed up a tree. The body was in such a bad state that one of the legs had actually fallen to the ground. Since then, people have reported seeing a man wandering around the gatehouse at night. This photo was taken in the Grevillea wing of the asylum. Ghost hunters Raylene Cable and Alan Tiller took this photo while investigating the grounds at Beechworth. They believe it's the spirit of a young girl kneeling on the floor. Countless other paranormal sightings have taken place at Beechworth Lunatic Asylum. Visions of doctors walking down dark hallways, screams, nurses kneeling by bedsides. One ghost hunter says a demonic voice told him to get out and leave the asylum. Is it possible that the dark history of this property is so traumatic that the souls of the employees and those committed are forced to wander the grounds forever?
Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying the creepy content, click this annotation right there, 10 creepy ghost photos you have to see. But if you're new to the channel, then click that there. That'll subscribe you to our channel and you'll get to see content just like this each and every week. Well, that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew!
7 eerie abandoned places you have to see. From an abandoned sugar factory to a replicated Paris, join us as we take a look at 7 eerie abandoned places you just have to see. Chengdu City, China. While technically not an abandoned city, Chengdu in China has very few inhabitants. Architecturally modelled off Paris, this gated community seems like a ghost town in comparison to the real Paris, France. Construction began in 2007 with the intent to lure settlers out of the countryside with the promise of a little European romance. While few countrysiders seem to have been persuaded, only time will tell if the Chinese take to this unusual French oasis. The Domino Sugar Refinery. This hauntingly beautiful building is the abandoned Domino Sugar Factory in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. After operations ceased in 2004, this mighty complex was left to decay, creating an eerie backdrop against the East River. This refinery, looking like a fortress from some end-of-the-world movie, has recently received the go-ahead to be turned into residential housing. Miranda Castle, Belgium. Miranda Castle was built in 1866 by an English architect under the commission from the Liederkirk Beaufort family. The family's descendants remained in the castle until World War II, when it was taken over and converted into an orphanage. It remained an orphanage until 1980, after which it fell into disrepair. As the cost to maintain the property was far too high, no investors have come forward, so this creepy old orphanage remains completely abandoned even today. Hashima Island, Nagasaki, Japan. Hashima Island served as a coal mining facility from 1887 to 1974. Known as Battleship Island due to its likeness of a Japanese battleship upon the seas, this eerie abandoned place was once home to more than 5,250 inhabitants. The island is covered with eroding high-rise block-style apartments and a large seawall around the perimeter. Hashima Island served as inspiration for the hideout of Bond villain Raoul Silva in Skyfall. No actual filming took place on the island, however, as a large set was built in Pinewood Studios, England. The Mir Mine. Located in eastern Siberia, Russia, the Mir Mine is the second largest excavated hole in the world. At 525 meters deep, it's also the fourth deepest. When diamonds were discovered in the area in 1955, construction began shortly after on this gigantic open-air mine and outlying buildings. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, in 1991 the Saka Diamond Company took over operations, reporting annual profits in excess of $600 million from diamond sales. Eventually this huge mine was closed completely in 2011. The SS America, Fuerteventura, Canary Islands. The SS America was built in 1940 for the United States Lines. During its career, it saw many roles, including a troop transport and passenger liner. During a tow in 1993, the deteriorating vessel ran aground in Fuerteventura in the Canary Islands. It has stayed there until this day, slowly eroding in the pounding surf. The wreck is now only visible in low tide. Pripyat, Ukraine. Founded in 1947, Pripyat once had a population of more than 49,000 people. It was evacuated shortly after the Chernobyl disaster in 1986. Totally abandoned for many years, Pripyat and the outlying areas are now surrounded by military guards and police. Since 2005, it is possible to take guided tours of the town as radiation levels have dramatically fallen and are now considered to be within a safe level. Recently, Pripyat has served as inspiration for several levels on the popular Call of Duty video game series. In the 2013 film A Good Day to Die Hard, part of the story is based in and around the city. An entire deserted town is truly worthy of our #1 spot for eeriest abandoned places. Well, hey, I sure would love to visit some of these places in person. As always, thanks heaps for watching. If you're enjoying the content, hit that thumbs up button. If you're new to our channel, why not hit subscribe? We have new content coming out each and every week. And this is the Slapper Shining Wolf.
Slap
10 UFO sightings caught on camera. From a UFO caught on the BBC News to a flying object dropping glowing orbs down on Earth. Join us as we take a look at 10 UFO sightings caught on camera. On July 4th, 2016, a strange light was seen hovering in the night sky over Tucson, Arizona. You can see a large white orb that blinks on and off sporadically. At the 1:20 mark, a second object appears, then flashes brightly before disappearing. Many skeptics have noted that July 4th is a common night for firework displays, but do these look like ordinary fireworks? On the 2nd of August 2016, the Malcolm W. Martin Memorial Park Facebook page uploaded this clip. It's taken from a security camera overlooking the Mississippi River and Gateway Arch in St. Louis, USA. The footage shows a glowing ball hovering in the sky for around 5 minutes. It moves about the sky erratically, disappears, then reappears in different spots. One local tried explaining the footage as headlights from cars parking in the Mississippi River overlook. What do you think, headlights or visitors from outer space? In November 2015, numerous Californian residents saw some very strange lights in the night sky. People from Reno to Los Angeles spotted a blue light flaring across the horizon. Several different pieces of footage were uploaded, each capturing the same strange blue light. Dozens of calls flooded into 911 reporting the unidentified flying object. The following morning, the US Navy issued a statement that they had been testing a ballistic missile off the coast of California. It just seems awfully convenient for the Navy to issue a statement like that. Would they really fire missiles near a heavily populated coastline completely unannounced, terrifying hundreds of residents? Bit strange. There's very little info on this piece of footage. It's supposedly taken by a couple as they flew over Poland in a commercial airliner. What their camera captured is very unusual. It appears to be a massive floating object drifting by the aeroplane. If anyone has any information on this clip or can translate what the couple is saying, please leave a comment below. On January 8, 2005, a man captured what appears to be a fleet of UFOs hovering over an unknown part of Mexico. There are 40 to 50 glowing orbs floating in the sky. Many claim the sighting to be balloons or Chinese lanterns, but when the footage zooms in, it looks as though the objects are steering themselves around each other. This footage was taken in July 2016 during a flyover of the city of Melbourne, Australia. In the background there's a strange floating shape to the right side of the city. It's a thin structure hovering in mid-air. What do you think, hovering spacecraft or a glitch in the film? This startling footage was taken in an unknown part of the Philippines in 2014. At first it's difficult to tell what's happening as the footage only shows two glowing objects on a dark background, but you can see smaller orb-like objects falling to the ground. A night vision lens is used to clarify the image, and what it captures is very striking. It's clear that this UFO is dropping numerous balls of light down on the ground. Are there any plausible explanations for this footage? In October 2014, the BBC was reporting on pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. What they inadvertently captured on film is startling. You can see above the sea of protesters between the two buildings, a flying object moves towards the right of camera. It pauses for a moment, then flies straight up at an accelerated rate. It's very hard to explain this footage as the BBC captured it live, making it impossible for anyone to tamper with or alter in any way. This piece of footage caused quite a stir amongst both the scientific and conspiracy theory communities. Taken on August 6, 1997's hefty flying object was filmed flying over Mexico City. The community has divided almost in half on whether the footage is real or fake. Some say there are dubious digital artifacts hidden in the still frames of the clip. Others have noted that back in 1997 there were no programs available to the public powerful enough to fake this footage. Other perplexing evidence is the 12 or so witnesses from across the city that reported seeing the craft flying through the air. What do you think, real or fake? If you've got any information on this clip, leave a comment below. June 2016 in Menangle, New South Wales, Australia, up to 8 strange glowing objects were filmed flying through the sky. The footage shows these craft steadily moving to the left of screen. Then a darker, more solid looking object can be seen hovering in the sky. 2 of the glowing balls previously seen seem to fly into this hovering object. Bonus time! We're giving away 3 Slaptam t-shirts to some lucky viewers. To enter, all you have to do is follow us on Twitter and retweet this tweet. We're only running this competition for a few days, so get in quick. Remember, you must be following us and retweet the tweet to enter the draw. Hurry, do it now or you'll miss out on a chance to win a wicked Slaptam tee. A link is in the description box below. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's a UFO coming down to probe our anuses. As always, thanks heaps for watching. If you're enjoying the content, hit that thumbs up button. Remember to share this video around with your friends and family. And this is a Slaptam shining.
How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slaptam. Today we're talking about scary GoPro footage. From a surprise volcanic eruption to a dramatic plane crash played out on camera. Join us as we take a look at 8 pieces of terrifying GoPro footage you need to see.
On September 27, 2014, at around midday, Mount Ontake suddenly erupted, taking hundreds of hikers by surprise. Mount Ontake is a volcano located on the island of Honshu, Japan, around 100 kilometers northeast of Nagoya. It's a popular tourist spot with dozens of scenic hiking trails crisscrossing the mountain. In the footage, we see several hikers ascending a steep ridge. In the distance, you can see a gigantic plume of volcanic ash rising into the air. It gradually gets larger and larger as it takes over the blue skyline. The hikers' initial reaction seems to be one of awe as they process what exactly they're witnessing. Then, as the cloud of hot ash descends upon them, panic sets in. They begin to scramble down the slate-covered mountain before becoming consumed by smoke and debris. According to reports, there was no significant seismic activity to warn the hikers. Experts believe the eruption to be hydrovolcanic, a process by which underground water is superheated, rapidly turning into steam, ejecting gas and ash high into the air. This scary footage caught on GoPro was taken by French hikers walking through Lake Waikaremoana National Park in New Zealand in September 2015. In the footage, we see the 4 tourists crossing the thin Hoporani Bridge in Hawke's Bay. As they approach the middle of the wire crossing, it suddenly kinks, throwing the hikers into the river below. They thrash and tumble in the murky water before swimming to shore. Luckily, all 4 hikers survived the incident with only minor injuries. An investigation into the incident confirmed that the bridge was designed to carry up to 10 people. However, it gave way under the weight of just 4 adults. The Department of Conservation Operations Manager Mike Slater said the bridge gave way after a release of one of the cables. He assured the public that the occurrence was extremely rare. It's not known whether the hikers received compensation for their extreme close call. In mid-2013, fishermen caught some scary GoPro footage while trailing bait behind their sports fishing boat in Maryland, United States. During the clip, we see half a dozen fishing lines rigged with bait trailing in the briny waters. In the distance, you can just make out the snout of a shark. It holds for a moment before explosively attacking the baited lines. The shark snatches the fish and retreats into the gloomy backdrop. One by one, it viciously bites the fish until they're all gone. Experts identified the shark as a mako. These ancient hunters are on record as the fastest swimming sharks in the world. They can gain 18.8 meters in just 1 second. The females of the species are the largest and can weigh over 600 kilos, which is around 1,300 pounds, with a length of 3.8 meters or around 12 feet. There were reports in 1881 in Italy of a mako shark that weighed 1,000 kilos, which is more than 2,200 pounds. Looking at this footage, it's terrifying to see how easily one of these creatures could hunt down a hapless swimmer or diver. Sticking with sharks for a moment, this GoPro photo was submitted to a thread on Reddit. It shows the terrifying moment a shark swam by a surfer's foot. Allegedly, the person who took this footage had spent the day surfing and didn't know what had happened until they reviewed their footage for the day. There in the photo is the chilling outline of a shark trailing through the water. It's barely a meter away from their legs. This terrifying moment, caught on GoPro, occurred on August 2014 in a rural area of Fernie, BC, Canada. In the clip, we see a mountain biker's chilling encounter with a mountain lion. At first, it's hard to spot the beast as it blends almost perfectly into the grassy terrain. The giant cat stalks the biker, slowly circling him, most likely sizing him up. Experts advise that if you encounter a mountain lion in the wilderness, it's best to face them and remain still. Some suggest that intense eye contact and loud shouting may convince the cougar to retreat. If you were to run, you might trigger their instinct to chase prey. However, mountain lions have prey recognition that they learn as cubs, so humans are not often attacked because they aren't part of the prey hierarchy. It's only if they feel threatened or they're injured or starving that they might attack. In the video, the biker does well to stay remarkably calm. He does exactly as experts suggest, keeping eye contact, staying front on, and waiting till the cougar loses interest. Dramatic footage caught on a GoPro was released to the public in late 2014. Ferdinand Puentes captured the chilling moment this plane crash-landed into the ocean. Moments after the Hawaiian flight departed the island of Molokai, the Cessna Grand Caravan experienced engine failure. One witness said it sounded like a loud bang before the plane began to descend towards the water. In the video, we see Puentes looking out the window of the plane with his GoPro. You can see the ocean fast approaching as the plane crashes into the water. The passengers remain eerily calm as water begins to rush into the cabin, everyone scrambling to put their life vests on. Moments later, after exiting the craft, you can see the passengers clinging to the wing of the plane. The pilot, cut and bleeding, orders the floating survivors to move away from the sinking plane. 7 of the 8 passengers on board survived, while State Health Director Loretta Fuddy sadly passed away prior to rescue. The crash made controversial headlines because Fuddy was the state official who verified and approved the release of former President Barack Obama's birth certificate. Some conspiracy theorists and even Donald Trump alluded that the crash was suspicious. It was later revealed that Fuddy died of congestive heart failure triggered by the accident. Check out this terrifying moment caught on GoPro in South Dakota. In the footage, we see several bikers exploring the Bulldog Trail in Black Hills. As the rider in front passes over a small gate in the fence, he notices a rattlesnake coiled up on the side of the path. He calls to his friends, alerting them of the snake. You'd think riding past an aggressive rattlesnake would be scary enough, but the cameraman decides to up the ante and provoke the deadly creature. He slides the GoPro up to the snake, it rattles its tail, warning of an impending strike. It coils, then launches at the camera lightning fast, leaving behind what looks like venom on the lens. Rattlesnakes are found throughout America and have some of the most toxic venom of all snakes in the Western Hemisphere. A bite from one of these deadly creatures can cause blood clots and necrosis of the skin, leading to convulsions, paralysis, and ultimately heart failure. Death can occur 6 to 48 hours after a bite. Let's just say it's not wise to aggravate a rattlesnake. One viewer noted that provoking the snake like that would leave it agitated and volatile for the next passing hiker, which is kind of a dick move. The rider decides to shove the camera in the snake's face not once but twice before continuing on his merry way. Now if you thought the last rattlesnake encounter was terrifying enough, wait till you see this footage. Taken in rural Montana, US, two hikers stumble upon a pit of rattlesnakes and decide to film it with their GoPro. In the footage, we see the camera hover above what looks to be at least 20 or more rattlesnakes, all writhing over each other. You can hear the hum of their rattles as they warn the intruders to keep their distance. One snake becomes curious enough to investigate the camera. It stares into the lens, tongue flicking before striking the GoPro. Experts say that a rattlesnake can bite a victim at speeds of up to 1/10 of a second, leaving any animal within striking distance no chance of escape. Watching this footage, it's easy to see the frightening speed at which they can attack. Finally, one of the snakes lunges at the camera, knocking it into the pit. It sits there among the exacerbated hum of the threatened animals. In the background, you can hear the cameraman moan that he's lost his camera. Eventually, he manages to retrieve it with the handle end of a hockey stick, getting far closer to the writhing pit of snakes than most sensible people should. Apparently, this footage was taken using a handheld gimbal similar to a selfie stick, which was then taped to the end of a hockey stick. So really, at most, this makeshift device put the cameraman just meters away from these deadly creatures.
Well, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, hit that big old red subscribe button, click that bell icon next to it and turn on channel notifications. That way you'll see all the latest updates from our channel. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're looking at some really creepy footage. From a poltergeist slamming doors inside of a morgue to an eerie lady spotted multiple times along a dark stretch of country road. So join us as we take a look at 10 jaw-dropping ghost sightings with real footage. And before we get into it, remember to hit that subscribe button for more awesome creepy content just like this.
Let's kick things off with one of the most chilling ghost sightings going around the internet. Two security guards are doing a routine check of a Brazilian hospital. When they reach the basement to lock up the morgue for the night, they hear something banging in the distance. For some reason, the lights are flickering down the hallway. A small red door can be seen opening and closing, slamming into the wall. It rhythmically bashes into the wall over and over. Gradually, the two guards make their way to the door when it suddenly stops banging. Then, as they get close enough to inspect the door, the lights switch off, plunging them into complete darkness. Eventually, the lights come back on and there appears to be no explanation for the swinging door. As they take a look at the cabinet, another strange banging noise begins further down the hallway. Unfortunately, the clip ends abruptly and we get no resolution. No one has been able to explain this eerie video. Some social media viewers thought it had to be a hoax, noting that the lights turned off conveniently to edit out whatever it was making the door swing. Some thought there was no way it could have been faked, hailing it as evidence of a poltergeist haunting the morgue. Others didn't care whether it was real or fake and just enjoyed it for the chilling clip that it is. What are your thoughts about this creepy video? Let us know in the comments section below. This video started spreading around Facebook last year. It appears to be filmed on a security camera in an unknown hotel. A man is resting when suddenly an apparition of some sort appears next to the bed. It eerily watches him sleep. Suddenly the man begins to writhe about in bed as though he's somehow being influenced by the spectre. He contorts into an awkward position, then wakes up holding his head as if he's in pain. The figure disappears briefly when the man looks around the room, but then reappears as he looks the other way. What's going on in this video? Some commentators have noted that a security camera in a hotel bedroom seems a little suspicious, if not set up. Paranormal enthusiasts, however, believe the footage is genuine, and that the man has suffered from a partial possession, but woke up just in time to ward the spirit away. This terrifying video was captured on a dash cam by a motorist in the district of Kulim in the Malaysian state of Kedah. As they drive through rural countryside at 3:25 AM, the driver notices a woman dressed in a red top walking by the side of the road. Thinking nothing of it, they continue into the night. Moments later, a woman wearing the exact same outfit traditionally known as a kebaya can be seen walking along the road. Several meters down the track, the woman is seen yet again. Then, as the car rounds the corner, somehow the woman is in front once more, but this time is in the middle of the road. Finally, the driver freaks out, reverses and speeds off in the opposite direction. This clip went viral across social media, scaring the heck out of millions of viewers. Some thought it was a witch or a ghost, others claimed it was a cleverly edited marketing campaign for a Malaysian horror movie, The Legend of Pontianak. In November 2016, several children got the fright of their lives when they noticed a piece of gym equipment moving all on its own. A woman who was walking through the park in Cancun, Mexico, took out her phone and began filming the eerie phenomena. She warned passing children to stay away from the moving machine. In the footage, you can clearly see a shoulder press exercise machine moving up and down on its own. The woman filming yells, "Look at that, it's moving on its own," before urging the children to keep their distance. When the clip was shared to social media, viewers suggested it was a ghost working out. Others thought it must have been a hoax but couldn't quite justify how the machine was moving all on its own. The maintenance company responsible for the outdoor equipment inspected the machine but didn't offer an explanation. Despite the clip being several years old, no one has been able to prove whether the footage is real or fake. The owner of this pizzeria in Tampa, Florida, believes something supernatural is happening in his store. In mid-2017, he began experiencing unusual events that couldn't quite be explained. He would often open his store in the morning to find things had been moved and objects lying on the ground. Then, one evening in August, his security camera captured something creepy on film. As the owner locks up for the night and closes the front door to leave, a small jar flies off the countertop. At the same time, what looks to be a salt shaker moves off the table. This footage appears to confirm the store owner's suspicions, as numerous objects move around the room seemingly on their own. Is this pizzeria haunted? Later that month, more footage was released showing objects moving, this time right in front of someone. In this clip, a Bite Squad driver, similar to Uber Eats, comes into the store to pick up a delivery order. As he's waiting for the food, a green box of soda cans flies off the table, startling the delivery boy. Similar to the first clip, a second object moves at the same time. If you look to the left of screen, a pen falls off a box in the corner. What could be causing these objects to move on their own? Could it simply be a publicity stunt, or is this pizza store haunted? This scary little clip seems to show the moment a ghostly black and white figure watches out of the window of an old mansion in Devon, England. A mother films her son riding his bike around Peyton's Oldway mansion. He rides a couple of laps around the paved car park when a strange figure can be seen in one of the windows. It seems to be devoid of light with an eerie black and white hue. Their clothes look old-fashioned and they're positioned as though posing for a traditional portrait painting. One local paper suggested the ghostly figure could be Isadora Duncan, a famous dancer who had ties to the mansion. She died tragically in 1927 when a silk scarf she was wearing became entangled in a car wheel, breaking her neck. Her children also died horribly in a car accident 14 years prior, when they ploughed into the River Seine in Paris and drowned. What do you think? Could the spirit of Isadora Duncan be imprinted on this old mansion? This video was allegedly taken by two night watchmen in an old Colombian hospital. What they've captured on film will give you chills. The original clip was posted to a ghost investigation forum by a student who claims they got it from some security guards that worked the night shift at the hospital. Apparently, the guards would often hear strange noises when doing their rounds, inexplicable bangs and eerie whispering. Finally, one day they heard some noises and decided to film the event on one of their phones. The footage shows some kind of spectral figure float towards the camera. It's an enormous spirit-like formation that looks to be draped in a robe, or, as one of the guards suggests in the footage, could be holding a baby. The guards chatter in the background, terrified at what they're witnessing. It's probably a person that can't be liberated or can't leave, one guard suggests, while the other, in reply, says, "This is scaring the out of me, I'm leaving, I'm out of here." It's a shame the footage is so blurry. It makes it difficult to make further comment as there's such little definition to see what's really going on. Grainy, unfocused footage does make it easier to hoax sightings like these. Did the guards fake the footage, or have they captured a ghost standing right in front of them? On the 16th of January, a CCTV camera in downtown Kolkata, India captured something truly unusual. At 11:55 PM, a riderless TVS Apache motorbike can be seen cruising through an intersection. A white sedan in the middle of the zebra crossing seems to pause suddenly as it notices the ghostly motorbike pass by. No one has been able to definitively explain this piece of mysterious footage. There have been unconfirmed reports of an accident taking place just minutes earlier, in which the rider of the bike was thrown off, but the bike managed to stay upright and careen further down the road through this intersection. What do you think is going on in this video? Has this bike managed to stay upright after an accident, or is something more sinister at play here? This is a strange little clip posted to a YouTube channel called Gary Bell in mid-2017. A man begins filming his door when he notices the handle moving back and forth on its own. It shakes constantly for the entirety of the clip. Then, at the 10-second mark, an eerie white figure flashes past the window. Admittedly, the figure does look a little like someone riding a bike along the side of the house. It could just be a coincidence, but then how does that explain the handle flipping back and forth on its own for more than a minute? Unfortunately, there's no other information to go on with this footage, so it's hard to comment any further. Love to get your opinion on this one. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Before we get to that #1 spot and check out some terrifying footage filmed on a baby monitor, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on channel notifications. That way you'll be up to date with all our latest creepy content. This baby monitor has captured the disturbing moment a strange apparition hovered over a sleeping baby. The clip was posted to Facebook asking viewers what on earth had been filmed. In the video, it's clear some kind of transparent figure is floating around the cot. The possible spirit sits eerily above the baby as though watching it rest. It seems to have a translucent body and a slightly more visible head. Whatever it is wafts back and forth for around a minute before disappearing to the right of screen. Then it returns and moves closer to the baby. Has this baby monitor captured evidence of a ghost? Many viewers have offered their opinions on the video. Some think it could be dust or cobwebs catching the light and reacting to the baby monitor's night vision. Others have said that this is a spirit curious by the baby's energy. What I want to know is, if you spotted something unusual hanging around your baby on the monitor, why would you wait around and film it? I'd like to think the mother checked the room first before thinking how viral the video could go.
Well, there's another episode down. Thank you so much for watching. Now, in the comments section below, let us know which one of these clips scared the bejeebers out of you. If you're new to our channel, consider subscribing as well, because we do content just like this each and every week. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're talking about the most downright creepy images found on Reddit. From an eerie World War II photo of the Dresden bombings, to a creepy figure that paid a visit to a Reddit user in the middle of the night. Join us as we take a look at the 10 creepiest photos found on Reddit.
Reddit user 100 Jono posted this photo claiming it was captured by Google Street View somewhere in France. The photo appears to show some kind of humanoid figure with sharp eyes and a gaunt face. The monster has long hair and a strange skinny body. It looks as though its head is twisted around backwards just to look at the camera. According to Reddit comments, the pic got so much attention that Google was forced to blur the image. They say the creature is what's known as an ugly man, a kind of gargoyle statue used throughout Indonesia to deter intruders. This photo takes a little while for the creepiness to set in. It's the subtext in this image that makes the viewer uneasy. The strange unknown basement with its unsealed dirty floor, the filth-covered walls that almost look like they've been scratched at, the table and chair with a single deck of cards sitting on top evokes images of a lonely person playing solitaire. Maybe they're sad and alone, possibly held against their will. The position of the table is strange too, in the corner facing the wall. The surface of the table is worn smooth from countless hours of playing games by themselves. One can only imagine where this strange dark setting is located, maybe on a sunny suburban street where people smile and nod, completely unaware of the ghastly chamber that lies beneath their neighbour's house. This photo was submitted to the subreddit Creepy with the title "Caught on a Redbox Security Camera." No one has been able to explain this photo. The eerie posture of the girl at the Redbox movie rental machine has left viewers dumbfounded. The angle her head is at almost defies a normal range of motion, and her sinister looking eyes don't help the situation either. If anyone knows more about this photo, please let us know in the comments below. This intense photo is often associated with the creepypasta The Russian Sleep Experiment, a short story about a depraved experiment that left 5 political prisoners deranged and mutilated. The story goes that in the late 1940s, Russian researchers kept 5 political prisoners awake for 15 days using experimental gas. They were kept in a large chamber with beds, books, running water and enough canned food to last 30 days. Microphones were placed in the room and a 5-inch thick glass porthole was used by the researchers to monitor the subjects. Everything went well for the first 5 days, but soon the subjects began discussing traumatic experiences in their past. They became increasingly paranoid and soon started whispering into the microphones, bargaining their freedom with the researchers. After 9 days, one captive started screaming non-stop, running the length of the chamber for 3 hours. He screamed so much that he tore his vocal cords and could only produce faint squeaks. The other captives didn't react to the screaming. They kept on whispering into the microphones until one of them began tearing pages from a book, spitting on them and then plastering them all over the windows. Then, all sounds from the room immediately stopped. The researchers had no way of knowing what was happening inside the room. Several days passed when the researchers finally decided to open the chamber. Inside, they found one prisoner dead, badly mutilated. 4 inches of water and blood covered the floor. The other prisoners had large pieces of flesh scratched out, along with their vital organs splayed on the ground beside their bodies. The surviving prisoners all begged for the gas to be turned back on, claiming that they no longer wanted to be freed. Pleasant. In truth, this figure is actually known as Spasm. A product manufacturer called Morbid Enterprises created the prop for the 2005 Halloween season. You can find videos online of people unboxing and reviewing the figurine. So thankfully it has nothing to do with murderous, sleep-deprived maniacs. Reddit user Stanzy13 was looking after their parents' cabin deep in the woods. They were home alone and there wasn't another person around for miles, or so they thought. When they woke up in the morning, they found these tracks in the snow. Clearly someone had walked up to the window and looked in during the night. How long the person lingered at the window is unknown, but they eventually wandered off down the side of the house. There was no sign of attempted burglary anywhere around the house, so that means whoever made these prints just stared into the window in the middle of the night and simply walked off. Between the 13th and 15th of February 1945, British and American forces dropped 3,900 tons of explosives onto the city of Dresden, Germany. The carnage decimated the city to ruin, leaving only a stark skeleton of a city behind. This black and white image highlights a mere portion of the destruction caused during World War II. An ominous statue presides over the devastation. The spiny shells of the buildings and homes below create an eerie set for a town stripped of human life. An estimated 25,000 people were killed during the raids on Dresden. This is a historical black and white photograph dating back to 1925. They say the little girl in the photo was visiting her twin sister's grave, who tragically died in a house fire. Bizarrely, in the pond's reflection is a second little girl. Many analysts have tried to debunk this photo but claim the picture hasn't been tampered with in any way. Could this really be the reflection of the little girl's twin sister? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. This is simply known as nightmare.gif. Let's just sit back and let the creepiness sink in, shall we? The origins of this photo are uncertain, but some believe it to be cursed. Some say this is a still from a Chinese horror movie. It's alleged that several of the cast and crew died mysteriously while making the film. When authorities investigated the incident, all those who died had unedited previews of certain scenes from the movie on their phones. This still was on every single phone. It's thought that all who come in contact with this photo will disappear or die. If our YouTube channel inexplicably stops uploading, then you all know why. In 2017, Reddit user Fat and Depressed submitted this terrifying image. The user said they awoke in the middle of the night to a notification on their phone. Tired and confused, they checked the message to see what it was. It was an alert from their smart home saying, "Your doorbell detected a visitor." At first, the security feed didn't show anything and they thought perhaps a dog or cat had triggered the sensor. Then, after several more notifications, they woke up to find this chilling screen capture. The figure in the picture looks like an apparition of sorts. It's either folding its arms behind its back or it doesn't have arms at all. It doesn't seem to have legs either, it's just sort of hovering in mid-air. The face looks like a mask with painted black eyes. In the morning, the user checked the notifications and the security system detected movement every few hours, from 10:30 PM to 4 AM. For nearly 6 hours, this strange figure triggered the security system, over and over again, staring ominously into the camera.
Whoa, easy with that clicking finger. Before you head off and watch something else, I just want to let you know our friends over at Planet Dolan have gone and released themselves a video game. It's amazing, it's completely free. It was trending number 2 on the arcade list on Google Play. It's available on iOS as well. There's a link in the description box below. As I said, it's completely free. If you like the game, give them a 5-star review and tell them Slapped Ham sent you. Well, there's another episode in the can. Thank you so much for watching. Now remember to follow us on all our other socials. The addresses are right there. While you're at it, remember to share this video around with your friends and family. It helps us out immensely. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Now, are these real mermaids caught on tape? From a mermaid spotted swimming in a cave in Mexico to a strange sea creature washed ashore in the UK. Join us as we take a look at 10 real mermaids spotted in the wild.
This amazing footage surfaced in August 2016. It appears to show a mermaid swimming through the murky waters of a Mexican underwater cave. The diver claims he was swimming with some friends in what's known as a cenote near Cancun, Mexico. Cenotes are natural sinkholes that open up when bedrock limestone collapses, creating a deep pit of water. These natural wonders are hotspots for tourists who flock to swim in the enormous ponds. In the footage, you can see the diver swimming about in the cave. He films his friends who are also busy exploring the grotto. Then, in the distance, you can clearly see a humanoid creature swimming through the shadowy waters. It has a long tail with an enormous fanned fin at the bottom. The creature glides effortlessly through the water. Experts who have analysed the footage are stunned at what's been captured. They claim that no CGI has been used, nor has the clip been edited in any way. Is this proof that mermaids really do exist? Have they been hiding in deep water caves all these years, just waiting to be discovered? Startling footage of an alleged mermaid washed onto the internet in 2016 and caused quite a stir. Photos and footage were posted to Facebook claiming to show an unknown sea creature that had washed ashore in the UK. The beast appears to have an upper body remarkably similar to a human. The skull and chest cavity resemble human anatomy, however the lower half looks like a fish. The gruesome remains are far flung from the classical depiction of a siren mermaid, leading some to believe that this footage might actually be real. When the photos went live on Facebook, opinions were divided. Most were quick to call the images fake, while others were stunned at what they saw, hoping that a genuine discovery had been made. Could a new species of deep-sea animal really have just washed up on the beach? Love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. This brief clip seems to show some kind of creature swimming in a Jamaican river. The footage was captured at Flatbridge, 23 kilometres west of Kingston. Several kids were playing by the murky river when they spotted a strange figure by the bank. They quickly started filming on a phone in an effort to capture proof of their encounter. Sadly, the video is very brief and only shows a head bob into the water. You can just make out a body swimming through the muddy river. What do you make of this footage? Have these children captured a river mermaid playing in the water? This is some bizarre footage that surfaced in December 2017. It shows an unknown aquatic beast tied up on a box. It has the head and tail of a fish but has 4 breasts and a bloated belly. The skin around its midsection is clearly different to that of its head and tail. For safety reasons, the creature's arms have been tied behind its back. You can see its throat pulse in and out as it gasps for air. Allegedly, several fishermen caught the mermaid off the coast of Paradip in Odisha, India. Unfortunately, details are scarce and the origins of the clip are unknown. Some claim that the creature is nothing more than a sculpture, while others insist that it's irrefutable proof of a deep-sea creature that is yet to be catalogued by science. This is some extraordinary footage captured by scientific deep-sea explorers. While filming off the coast of Iceland, this team of researchers captures something truly startling on film. As they maneuver through the murky waters, some kind of unknown creature presses a webbed hand onto the glass of the vessel. It has 4 pointy claws connected by some webbed tissue. Note the opposable thumb too, a feature normally associated with land-dwelling primates. A split second later, you can just make out the head of the animal. It has large black eyes and a small defined mouth. Unfortunately, the mysterious creature darts off into the darkness as quickly as it appeared. This is some wild footage taken in Israel in 2005. It claims to show a real mermaid sunbathing on a rock in the ocean. 2 tourists began filming on their phones when they noticed a strange figure down on one of the rocks. They filmed for several minutes, calling out to attract the attention of whatever's lying on the rocks. The creature becomes startled and dives backwards into the water. As it does so, it seems to reveal a long tail and finned feet. Curiously, mermaid sightings have become so common in Israel that a mayor of a coastal town has even put up a bounty for anyone that has irrefutable proof. Kiryat Yam in the Haifa Bay district of Israel has a $1 million reward for anyone that can show proof that mermaids exist. Dozens of locals claim they've had encounters. One man even says a mermaid touched his leg while swimming in the bay. He was so enamoured by the encounter he hopes he'll find the mermaid once more, claiming the brief rendezvous was like heaven. Could this footage be proof of the Israel mermaid? And is it strong enough evidence to claim the $1 million reward? This footage was allegedly taken in 2006 by a NOAA deep-sea research vessel. The camera was lowered into the ocean to investigate and repair an oil tank used by the research team. As the camera scans the drum for damage, various types of fish float nearby. However, right at the end of the footage, a strange long-finned creature darts by the camera. It only appears for a brief moment, but doesn't look anything like the other fish. Some claim that the camera has caught a mermaid swimming by at great speeds, perhaps curious about the intruding vessel. Others think it's nothing more than a deep-sea eel or a large fish. This clip is far too brief and grainy to make any definitive commentary, but nonetheless it has caused quite a stir across the internet, giving some people hope that mermaids may actually exist. In 2014, startling reports began surfacing that a mermaid had washed ashore in Mexico. The photos show a well-preserved specimen that resembles the mythical half-fish, half-human creature from ancient folklore. The face of the animal is slender with high cheekbones, full lips and black eyes. The skin almost sparkles in the sun. The upper body, which has vaguely human anatomy, blends seamlessly into a fish tail lower half. The tail piece is thick and strong looking, most likely used to propel the creature through water. When the photos spread across social media, people thought the images were too good to be true, and they were right. As it turns out, this so-called mermaid was an elaborate prop created by Joel Harlow for the film Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. There are loads of photos and videos of Harlow creating the model, thus proving this washed-up Mexican mermaid to be a fake. These fishermen caught something truly bizarre while in rough waters in the North Atlantic. A shaky handycam seems to have caught the moment a strange sea creature was brought up in the trawler's fishing net. The men frantically fall about the deck of the boat as rough waters batter the ship from all sides. The mood is clearly tense as they realise they've caught something unusual in their nets. As the cameraman gets closer, something very large is clearly thrashing about in the net. A webbed hand can be seen reaching out moments before the catch falls back into the water. What do you think this footage has captured? Is it a mermaid or some other wild sea creature that is yet to be classified? This short clip shows what could be a mermaid swimming among a reef. In 2007, a diver off the coast of Australia claimed to have encountered a real-life mermaid. In the footage, we see a diver filming a school of tropical fish in an unknown reef. In the distance, we see a humanoid figure swim towards the camera. It appears to be half human, half fish with a strong scale-covered tail. The enormous fins appear to propel the creature effortlessly through the water. When the clip was uploaded to the internet, it caused a speculative frenzy. Some heralded the footage as strong evidence of mermaids. Analysts have noted that the creature swims easily through the water without the use of its arms. Instead, it uses its long fin tail to glide forwards. The footage is also unusually clear, something not often seen in hoax videos. Could this diver actually have encountered a real mermaid swimming in the sea?
Well, that's the end of the episode. If you can't get enough of the old slapped ham, consider clicking a link right there to watch some more of our content. Leave us a comment down below or hit that thumbs up button to let us know you're enjoying the content. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew!
Slap ham.
Eerie places made of bones. If you've ever thought of building an eye-catching centerpiece out of human bone, then chances are you're already being watched by the FBI. Unfortunately, that type of thing is totally unacceptable today, but 200 years ago, any wall could be spruced up with a human skull or two. So join us as we take a look at some of the most eerie places made of bones. The Capuchin Crypt. This crypt, commissioned by Pope Urban VIII in 1626, lies beneath a small church in Rome, Italy. The Pope's brother, Antonio Barberini, a Capuchin friar, ordered the exhumation of thousands of dead friars with their bones to be moved to the new crypt. The crypt became the final resting place for about 4,000 friars, buried between 1500 and 1870. One wall of the crypt features bones that have been arranged in different patterns surrounding several intact skeletons still wearing friars' robes. This dimly lit crypt is open for tourists brave enough to catch a glimpse of the eerie artwork, with one plaque reading, "What you are now, we used to be. What we are now, you will be." Whew, take it easy. The Monastery of San Francisco. The catacombs beneath the Monastery of San Francisco in Lima, Peru contain the remains of some 70,000 people. Rumoured to be riddled with secret passageways, this underground ossuary was the original resting place of anyone who died in the city. This tourist attraction is not recommended for anyone with claustrophobia. The long, bone-lined hallways lead to several large pits filled with even more bones. Like a weird game of skeleton Tetris, the bones are all meticulously stacked, creating several very creepy patterns. Skull Chapel. With a small, unassuming exterior, the Skull Chapel in Poland hides an eerie secret. It contains more than 3,000 human skulls. There is also another 21,000 skeletons stuffed in the basement. Inspired by the Capuchin Crypt in Rome, this dedication to the dead took 18 years to construct and fill with bones. Inside the chapel there is a carving of an angel that reads, "Arise from the dead." Yeah, this is probably not the best place to seek refuge when the zombie apocalypse begins. The Fossil Cabin. The Fossil Cabin in Wyoming, USA was built in 1932 by Thomas Boylan. Originally intending to collect fossils from the local area to construct a dinosaur skeleton, Boylan soon realized the difficulty of the project. The fossils he collected were from several species of dinosaur, making it impossible to construct one complete dinosaur skeleton. With the help of his son, Boylan instead constructed a wooden cabin and lined the exterior with the found fossils. In 1938, Ripley's Believe It or Not dubbed the dwelling the oldest cabin in the world, which is obviously not true. Have you seen an episode of the Flintstones? Sedlec Ossuary. Located in Kutna Hora, Czech Republic, the Sedlec Ossuary is perhaps the most bizarre bony building of them all. The ossuary was built using the remnants of between 40,000 to 70,000 skeletons. The centerpiece is an enormous draping chandelier built with at least one of every type of human bone. Pelvises, femurs, vertebrae and skulls, you name it, the chandelier is made from it. Several other sculptures line the building's interior, including a bony coat of arms and other arrangements. The macabre creations were not added until 1870, when a man named František Rint was employed to arrange the piles of accumulated bones into something a little more eye-friendly. And naturally he thought a gigantic chandelier made of human remains. Nice. I seem to have soiled
My trousers.
As always, thanks heaps for watching. Remember to give that thumbs up button a click. It lets us know you're enjoying the content. Why not follow us over on Twitter for daily Did You Know facts? And this is the Schlapperm Shining Wall.
Slap.
8 greatest hoaxes of all time. From mysterious and unexplained photographs of monsters to the greatest wartime deception mission ever carried out, we count the 8 greatest hoaxes of all time. The Loch Ness Monster Surgeon's Photograph. The surgeon's photograph is arguably the most well-known picture taken of the Loch Ness Monster. The photograph was allegedly taken by London gynecologist Robert Kenneth Wilson on a trip to Loch Ness. The photo became worldwide sensation when it was first published in the Daily Mail on the 21st of April 1934, and despite several attempts over the years to discredit the photograph, it was still considered by many to be the best evidence supporting the existence of the Loch Ness Monster. In 1994, a man named Christian Sperling confessed to his involvement in the hoax shortly before his death at the age of 90. Sperling claimed an acquaintance, Marmaduke Weatherall, hatched a plot to get back at his employers at the Daily Mail, who ridiculed him after he reported to find Nessie tracks, which turned out to be the imprint of a hippopotamus foot umbrella stand. Sperling said he was asked by Weatherall to create a fake monster using a toy submarine and a piece of wood. The model was photographed in the shallows of the loch and the plates were handed over to Wilson, who took the photographs to the press. The Cottingley Fairies. In 1917, several photographs surfaced that captured the imagination of the English population. Frances Griffiths and Elsie Wright, 2 young girls from Cottingley, England, claimed to have taken a series of 5 photographs that proved the existence of fairies. The pictures even caught the attention of writer Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who used the photographs in an article he wrote about fairies for the Strand magazine. Over time, interest in the photographs gradually waned until the early 1980s, when both Frances and Elsie admitted to faking the photographs by cutting pictures of fairies from a popular children's book. Curiously, Frances, who passed away in 1986, maintained that the final photograph taken was actually a genuine image of real fairies. Life on the Moon. In 1835, the New York City newspaper The Sun printed a series of 6 articles detailing life on the moon. The articles claimed that the astronomer John Herschel had used a particularly powerful telescope to witness winged humans living in temples of sapphire, unicorns, and even beavers that walked around on their hind legs. The crazy story was reprinted by newspapers all over the world, and it took 5 years for the author Richard Adams Locke to finally admit that the whole thing was a load of nonsense. Alien Autopsy. In the 1990s, entrepreneur Ray Santilli released footage of what he claimed was the autopsy of an alien recovered from Roswell, New Mexico, 1947. The footage gained popularity, and on August 28, 1995, Fox Television released the footage under the title Alien Autopsy: Fact or Fiction. The program featured several opinions of experts including makeup artist Stan Winston and forensic pathologist Cyril Wecht. Despite several of the experts declaring the footage to be fake, some claimed that their testimonies were distorted in the final edit. The program was so popular that it was rebroadcast 2 more times. In 2006, Santilli admitted the film was fake, but stated that it was a reconstruction of footage he claimed to have seen in 1992. He went on to say that the original film had deteriorated and become unusable, but that a few frames of the original were embedded in the newer staged version. Naked Came the Stranger. In 1969, an independent publishing company released the first edition of Naked Came the Stranger, a novel that spent 13 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. The book was the idea of Newsday columnist Mike McGrady, who was so disgusted with the oversexed and smutty best-selling novels of the time that he set out to prove his point by deliberately penning a book so void of social value and merit that it surely could not be taken seriously. He enlisted the help of 24 of his colleagues to write 1 chapter each, instructing them all that there should be an unremitting emphasis on sex. The writing credit for Naked Came the Stranger was attributed to Penelope Ash, a fake author portrayed by McGrady's sister-in-law. The book quickly began to sell, with readers devouring the idea of an unsuspecting housewife author living out her wild fantasies through her pen. The book sold more than 20,000 copies in just a few months. When McGrady decided to reveal the hoax, the controversy only fueled interest in the book, and by the end of the year, Naked Came the Stranger had sold more than 100,000 copies. The Fiji Mermaid. In 1822, an American sea captain by the name of Samuel Barrett Eads purchased an unusual creature from Japanese sailors. At the time, it was common for fishermen from Japan to create mermaids for religious rituals by stitching the upper body of a monkey to the lower half of a large fish. After the death of the sea captain, his son sold the creature to Moses Kimball of the Boston Museum. In 1842, Kimball took the mermaid to New York to show the famous showman P.T. Barnum. Barnum had a naturalist examine the creature, who concluded that although he did not believe in mermaids, he could not see how such a specimen could have been faked. To generate hype for the mermaid, P.T. Barnum had one of his associates check into a hotel and show the creature to the owner as thanks for his hospitality. Word quickly spread to local newspapers, who ran the story, and public curiosity for the creature quickly grew. The mermaid was put on display for a short time in New York before it mysteriously disappeared from public view. In the 1860s, part of Barnum's museum burnt down, and it was believed that the exhibition was destroyed in the fire. Operation Mincemeat. In 1943, during World War II, the British Defence Forces carried out one of the greatest deception missions of all time. Operation Mincemeat was the brainchild of a committee led by Flight Lieutenant Charles Camondelet of the Royal Air Force and Lieutenant Commander Ewan Montague of the Royal Navy. Using the recently deceased body of a 34-year-old Welshman, Glinda Michael, they set about forging fake documents and devising a convincingly elaborate backstory to create a soldier who never existed, Major William Martin of the Royal Marines. Major Martin was released into the waters off the coast of Spain and drifted ashore soon after. The corpse was found by a local fisherman, who promptly alerted the authorities. The corpse was clothed in Royal Marines battle dress and a coat, and found with a mysterious briefcase. Inside the briefcase, several top-secret documents were discovered detailing plans by the Allies to invade Greece and Sardinia. The documents eventually found their way to German High Command and Adolf Hitler, who was convinced with the authenticity of the find. The Germans redirected soldiers and equipment from several campaigns in anticipation of the secret attacks. On the 9th of July 1943, the Allies invaded Sicily, but the Germans, still convinced by the top-secret documents they had intercepted, remained poised for invasions in Greece and Sardinia. The Germans refused to act for 2 more weeks, and by the time they did, it was too late. The Allies had gained an important foothold on continental Europe. The War of the Worlds. In 1938, panic gripped the US as a radio broadcast announced that Grover's Mill, a small town in New Jersey, was being invaded by aliens. The program was actually a Halloween special of the radio anthology series The Mercury Theatre on the Air, directed and narrated by actor Orson Welles. The broadcast was an adaptation of the classic H.G. Wells novel The War of the Worlds, delivered in the style of a breaking news bulletin. The news bulletin style caused so much confusion with the public that in the days following the performance there was pressure for the Federal Communications Commission to regulate the way in which radio programs could be broadcast. Question time! If you could create a hoax, what would it be? How would you go about fooling the public into believing it's true? The best, most creative answers will feature in our next Q&A.